Hey, everybody. As per usual, we were having a good time getting ready and chatting. Go ahead, chat, if you would give us a shout out and confirm that one, we don't sound super weird and robotic, that you can hear us, and let us know if I am too loud or they are too soft. Awesome. Thanks. Uh, cool. So we are here. This is our second episode of Star Trek Pioneer, our Star Trek Adventures actual play, a second of a planned three. We had some interesting things on the last episode. We got to meet our new crew. We got to kind of learn a little bit about where they are and what their mission is. And then the trauma began. So we ended on not exactly a cliffhanger, but one of those moments where something dramatic happens. So I anticipate at least the first part of this episode is going to be figuring out what the secrets that were revealed at the end of the first episode actually mean. But before we do that, why don't we do what we always do and have everyone introduce yourselves, tell people who you are, where people can find you ordinarily, and connect with you if they would like, and talk just a little bit about the character that you will be playing. Let's start with Hell.
Hi, my name is Hell Hassan Fury, and you can ordinarily find me on Twitch. I like to play really hard games, but in a calm way, and I'm about to start the B-sides of Celeste, so that should be fun. And you can normally find me like anywhere on social media at Hell Hassan Fury, particularly TikTok. And I am playing a character called Dr. Miyazi Pren. I am like acting chief medical officer on this expedition, and I am a Trill who is not joined. That means that I don't have a symbiont, and I tried to have one, but they didn't pick me, and now I'm gonna prove them wrong by ascending through the ranks and becoming just a really exceptional Starfleet officer.
Yes. Not killing another Trill and stealing their symbiote. Got it.
Yes, correct.
All right. Cool. Misha.
Hi, I'm Misha, less than three. You can find me on Twitter at Misha Wea. I rarely stream on Twitch, but you could follow me if you want to. You normally can find me over at the Justice TV program doing modding and all that kind of stuff. Modding. In this game, I am Lieutenant Commander Dr. Tristan Ellis. He's a human. He really likes science and studying planetary ecology and all that jazz going on. I think that's about it.
Yeah. And he's a deft hand with a phaser, right?
His phaser's gone now, but that's
Yes.
neither here nor there.
That's right. Speaking of deft hands with phasers, how about you, Cat Dad?
My name is Cat Daddy Boo. You can find me on that handle on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. Those are the main ones. On a little bit of a streaming hiatus recently, and I'm planning to move soon, so not sure when the next stream will be. But you can catch me here. You can catch me in other C+ content streams. You can catch me in other streams in the community. I am playing Lieutenant Arko Ravask, the ship's chief engineer. Arko is very athletic and friendly and outgoing and intuitive rather than your by the books officer. That's it.
And he is a Frosian.
He's a Frosian. I always forget that part.
So a people of storytellers and oral historians and proud warriors. James.
Hey everybody, my name is James, and today I will be playing the role of Lieutenant Junior Grade Nicholas Vaughn. He's just a lowly human, but he does have specialty in Vulcan culture, borderline obsession, and he's also a little bit of a hothead, which is very unlike me just regularly. So I've been having a lot of fun trying to make that come out a little bit more. and we'll see how it goes in the next in today's session as well as the next few. As far as where you can find me, I do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Jeems, Jeemz. I don't have any sort of schedule, but I do play all sorts of games, and you can also catch me in quite a few different chats. Most of them I'll be playing with today. So hopefully you all enjoy.
Excellent. And last but not least, Kelly.
I'm My Fair Kelly. You can find me on most social medias at the same location. I'm playing Counselor Kadira Adir, who is a Betazoid, who, if for those who don't know, is a slight empath. What's the correct term, Michael? Empath. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Yes, with a tragic history, and you are a telepath. It's just that you don't currently have full access to those abilities because reasons that have to do with slaughtering lots of Jem'Hadar with your mind. Anyway, so there's that. And I am Zero Daylight, or Zero, or Michael, or DM, or GM, or narrator, or keeper, or whatever. In this game, I am Admiral Zero. Thank you very much, as the pips indicate. I run silly games with silly people and awesome games with awesome people here and other places. So let's see. Upcoming, we have on Sunday morning, we have part 2 of Those Meddling Kids, our Monster of the Week actual play with the lovely Hell and others. Sunday night, we have the second session of the second season of our main D&D campaign, which is so off the rails. It's insane. That will be over at the Juices TV and Licity channels. And then Tuesday, we have a one-shot where everyone will die because it's 10 candles. And the lovely Hell Hath Some Fury, once again, is going to run that one for us. And she's not going to kill me first because I said so. Anyway.
Probably not.
Probably not. We'll try not to poison that particularly well. But anyway, because I am nothing if not petty and vengeful. So, Star Trek Adventures. If you were here with us last week, or if you had a chance to catch up on the YouTubes, which it looks like a lot of people have done, which is wonderful to see. This is a 2D20 system put out by Modivius, who makes fantastic, fantastic games, both licensed and original IP. It is very, very different from both Dungeons and Dragons, which most people are familiar with, as well as some of the Powered by the Apocalypse games that we play. It is similar in some ways to both. It's a little bit crunchier than Powered by the Apocalypse, but it is very narrative. And the system is designed to enable us to tell what is effectively an episodic TV show style of story. So we are treating the last session as sort of part 1 of a 2-part / 3-part kind of season opener to get everyone familiar with the world and these characters before they go off and do all sorts of fantastic adventures in the upcoming seasons. So who would like to give us a last time on Star Trek Pioneer sort of summary of the things that happened?
I can, if no one else wants to.
Jump in.
We could piecemeal it like it's many clips that are put together.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Last time on Star Trek Pioneer, we open with a shot of the space station where the Pioneer is docked, a beautiful glamour shot of the Nova class ship. It has a crew's about 75 people, according to my notes from last time. We cut to shots of each of our characters as they are entering the ship, looks of trepidation or extra preparedness in the case of Dr. Pren as they all take their posts. We enter in at the first bridge meeting, the middle of the mission, as our captain gives us an overview of the mission, specifically the mission to investigate a Ixtar 4, 12 light years away through dangerous gravitational pulsars, I believe. Something like that.
Close enough.
Technobabble here. Weird symbols, and of note, he says.
Yes.
There are reports of unusual archaeological finds that might be sensitive. we look over at the second in command, who is also an intelligence officer of Star Trek. Glances are exchanged.
Yes.
Let's see. A
We
brief
had
conversation that's probably awkward in the crew mess hall.
Yes. As
As
multiple people
we-
failed to notice that there are no waiters because this is a very small ship. So you mostly just sat around waiting for someone to come and take your order, and then realize you have to go get it yourself. So that was fun.
I took a replicator apart.
Yes, you
Yeah.
unnecessarily took a replicator apart.
I made
So
chicken and
there's
waffles.
our comedy bit of the last time on. Then we have some cool shots of our ship expertly being piloted by Lieutenant Vaughn as he steers the ship through the dangerous arrays,
Gravimetric
and we
eddies, yeah.
thank you
Expertly, might I add.
Mm-hmm.
expertly.
It's a good roll.
Expertly.
And we enter orbit above the planet. We cut to our team being assigned on a way mission. Our captain has noted that it's only bridge crew going instead of the usual crewmates who would normally be doing it. A few more glamour shots of the planet as Bob had taken the ship on a glorious sightseeing trip of the vast ocean in which there are very large creatures.
Yes.
But we land on a small volcanic island
Yes.
in a valley. Ravask falls down a hole
Yes.
is the next cut.
Yes.
We ask where he is. We say, oh, a cavern. That's interesting. Cut to us teleporting down into an empty cavern that we've located with the scanners. We find some weird technology that has... that I'm sure Ravask remembers exactly what it looks like.
Yes.
And there were verteron particles.
Yes.
There were verteron particles.
Verteron particles, we say repeatedly during the cut.
Yes. Just yes.
Verteron particles. Verteron particles.
Smash cuts to everyone's
Verteron.
faces. Yes.
Exactly.
I love
A cut to us, Captain saying, "Start the machine." An action-packed, tense scene as Ravask starts it up, and we yell, "Get out of there! Go, go!" And then, dramatically, voices speak to us and say, "Your prophets are dead."
Yes.
And that's where we left off, I
Fade
believe.
to black.
Fade to black.
This time.
Cut to Romulan warbirds decloaking and blowing the poor Nova class USS Pioneer to shreds in orbit around you. The debris cascading through the atmosphere that you live on this planet now. No, just kidding. Anything else that the expert narration of Lieutenant Commander Ellis missed?
It was excellent narration. But I would like to add that we noticed that the archaeological stuff, they probably wouldn't put this in the last time.
Right.
I'm just clarifying.
Yes.
But it's important for people who are here to know that there was like some symbols, and it made it seem like there were two like groups, like factions of people on this planet. Some who were peaceful and like calm, and some that were like more warlike, more aggressive.
Yep.
And the depictions seem to be written by the more peaceful people.
Yep. Or at least favorable to them. Yes.
Yeah.
Before you entered the chamber at the heart of this sort of underground complex, which, by the way, according to your scans, is 1 million years old. I mean, it's very, very, very ancient. You had, due to some great rolls, noticed bas relief carvings on the walls that tell a story of a humanoid but somewhat crab-like species that worshipped the sun or some sort of stylized swirly phenomena in the sky. And then there was a scene of something coming out of that stylized phenomena. And then your interpretation is that the two different factions had very different interpretations of that event. Some became introspective and priest-like, and others became much more focused on technology and are portrayed, at least in the carvings, as being warlike. As you entered into the central chamber, there's a scene of conflict between the two. And in that chamber was a plinth in the center of this kind of hemispherical dome with some sort of advanced technology, like a spire, a very long needle pointing at this hexagonal structure in the center of the room. Not very tall, 2.5 feet. And your captain orders you, once you determine that there is a mechanism and that it appears like it might still be functional if you could power it up, Lieutenant Ravosk does what he does and cannibalizes Lieutenant Commander Ellis's phaser for a power supply, begins to power up this ancient device. Unfortunately, due to a complication, powering it up also triggers the main power-up sequence, and it comes into full activation out of your control. And lengthy description later, you are all assaulted. Well, lest we forget, Lieutenant Commander Adir had gotten close to this object and had received almost overpowering telepathic communication, but wordless, of deep loneliness and just all-consuming rage. At the end of our episode, the hexagonal device in the center of the room opened, in which there was a kind of hourglass-shaped crystalline structure of familiar appearance, only this is black and cracked and very, very dead. And then you were all assaulted with the voice, likely from the machinery itself, not speaking in language, but so that you could all understand, all your prophets are dead. And that's where we pick up. So we see an establishing shot of the Pioneer in planetary orbit over this frankly idyllic world. It has a slightly higher proportion of ocean to land mass than Earth. It's slightly larger. The gravity is very, very slightly higher. And the landmass itself is more collection of small continents and archipelagos. But it's quite idyllic and frankly would make a really great colonization site. Then we cut in to the Exo's office, the Bolian man, Commander Vosral. So blue skin, bald head. And he is reviewing a meeting that he had before you departed with Lieutenant Commander Adir. And Lieutenant Commander Adir, I can narrate this or we can roleplay it. It's your choice. But this is the conversation that you had with Vosral when he introduced you to a little bit of the sensitive nature of this mission. So we see on his desktop computer, we see the security footage of the conversation with a transcript. And then the camera gets in close, and then suddenly the full frame is this conversation. You have been summoned to the Exo's office the day before you are due to meet everyone and depart. I assume you arrive on time. The door chimes. You hear, "Enter." And you step into this small, relatively cramped, I mean, it's a Nova class, but very, very well-kept office with a genial Bolian man in the solid black uniform of Starfleet intelligence. "Doctor, please have a seat."
I silently take the seat.
Well, let's get down to brass tacks. I'm aware of the events during the occupation of Beta Z.
I quietly just breathe in and say, like, I see.
To be clear, I don't hold that against you. No one in Starfleet Command holds it against you. Quite the contrary, in fact. There are a number of people, admirals even, who are very interested in exploring that particular capability of your people. However, wiser heads are currently prevailing. So I just wanted you to know that I know, and that, of course, the captain knows, but that we are on your side. We don't consider that a black mark on your record, nor are we going to ask you to violate your morals and practices in any way that you feel uncomfortable with. So, just didn't want you to find out that we knew or wonder if we knew. Just wanted everything to be clean. Wanted to set you up for success during your time here aboard the Pioneer.
Do I
And
sense? Oh,
yes,
please
go ahead.
continue.
No, ask that question.
Do I sense anything underlying this message with my, empathic abilities?
You sense that he is being very sincere, but like very sincere, like intentionally being very sincere.
Okay, understood.
Which
Thank
doesn't
you.
mean that he's trying to fake you out. It's just that
No.
he is aware that you are sensitive to his emotional state, so he's exercising great control to send a very clear message, both verbally and non-verbally. And I will say that you catch him in that half second where you kind of slightly defocus your eyes to kind of listen in on this other channel. He just kind of cocks his head and smiles a little bit. And then you, on the back of that, feel something coming. Doctor, I know you know that while it's unusual to have an executive officer who is also a member of Starfleet Intelligence, it's not unheard of, particularly out here in the Expanse. There's a lot of, we're right next to the Romulans back door, so there's a lot of potentially sensitive things. And as I know you have been briefed, there are those on the Starfleet Science Council and Tactical who are concerned about potential Borg presence out here. So, my presence on this particular mission, however, is related to something a bit different. We have found artifacts of Bajoran nature here in the quadrant. Shouldn't be here. Given the situation with Bajor and our strong desire to retain Bajor as a ally and eventually member of the Federation, we are having to walk a line. We want to investigate. We need to learn. It is a fascinating discovery if somehow the ancient Bajorans were able to make their way here, or were able to, or maybe originated from somewhere other than the Alpha Quadrant. Who knows? It's a very, very valuable scientific line of inquiry, but it is also, because of the nature of the Bajoran religion, very potentially politically explosive. We have Bajoran crew members and officers aboard. So I will ask you to keep an eye out. Not just in the course of your duties for anything that might be relevant to the scientific inquiry, but keep an eye out on the crew. Let me know if anyone, particularly the Bajorans aboard, become suspicious or concerned, or frankly, if any of them seem to be affected in a way that isn't explainable just by ordinary phenomena. We don't understand precisely the nature of the wormhole aliens and the interactions that they've had with the Bajoran people, but if If what I've heard from the reports of Captain Sisko and those who knew him, there's certainly some sort of very, very advanced technology bordering on the metaphysical at work. So just keep an eye and ear and other senses out for anything unusual and let me know. I will, of course, be asking all the other senior officers to do something likewise, but I wanted to have this conversation in private just because you might want to keep an eye on them as well.
I understand.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for
I
making it
acknowledge that
clear.
this might put you in a difficult position, but I will say,
I'm not unused. I'm familiar with the situation. Let's say that.
yes, you are. After this mission, we should have a conversation about the direction that your career takes in future. Starfleet Science and Medical are not the only divisions that were decimated, frankly, during the Dominion War. And we're also eager to identify potential recruits. And forgive me for saying you fit the profile.
Does there seem to be anything more underneath that, or just simple recruitment-esque?
I will say that you pick up a bit of ambivalence from Vosral. He is being honest, but there's a part of him. And remember, Bolians are generally very open and genial. There aren't that many Bolians, frankly, in Starfleet intelligence. It's kind of contrary to their natural character. But there's part of him you can tell that has had this conversation many times in different places in different ways, and realizes that although he is making potentially an offer that could be very beneficial for his division as well as for your career. He knows what life and intelligence means, and it's a two-edged sword, and he's aware that it's not a 100% positive offer. So he knows he's not putting you in danger, but that he's offering you something that's complex. And so there's a little sympathy for you as well, kind of down underneath the kind of professionalism and eagerness for you to consider the offer.
Understood. Thank you. And as she gets up to walk away, she turns around and asks like one further question. How old, excuse me, how old exactly were these artifacts? What was the oldest artifact they found? Depends on the correct wording, but
Yes,
I'm asking.
We found a variety of artifacts of ancient civilizations back 2 million years. It doesn't appear that anything we haven't found. We've obviously found some extant civilizations here, but those that seem to be related to this line of inquiry seem to have flourished 1 million years ago, but we haven't found any ruins or other signs that are younger than 500,000 years. Give or take a couple 100,000.
And just for Kelly's clarity, that is saying that the Bajoran artifacts are about 1 million years old, correct? Yeah. Thank you.
So somewhere from a little bit older than that up to something. And as we flash forward, you would have the context that this is potentially a more recent, because all of your readings are indicating that this was last occupied somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000 or 600,000 years ago, but that was likely occupied for a very, very long time before that. So this might be one of the more recent examples of whatever this cultural crossover or maybe just convergent evolution and coincidence might be. Who knows? But that does add context to the fact that you've seen symbology that resembles ancient Bajoran script, and you have now witnessed what appears to be a dead wormhole alien. So that is our flashback at the beginning of the episode. And then we're going to flash forward in time to the moment immediately after you have all received the telepathic communication, all your prophets are dead. You're all present deep, deep underground on Ixtar 4. What do you do?
I recall communications are jammed as well. Is that still?
I look at Lieutenant Commander Ellis because that's our commanding officer.
Yeah. Is the device still going?
Well, you might. So certainly the visual evidence, the lights, are still active, but we could certainly start with a scan.
I love starting with a scan. Really, my
Scanning is
favorite thing to
It's a
do.
good thing to do.
Build
So
up momentum.
yes, so I will say that is a reason science. You're using your tricorder, which will reduce the difficulty. You are under a complication that increases the difficulty by 1. So those
Okay.
equal out. It is going to be a difficulty 0 roll.
Okay. So I roll 2d20.
2d20. And your target is your reason plus your science.
All right. Reason plus science is 17, and I rolled an 11 and a 17.
So that's 2.
All right.
So you have earned the party 2. And I'll remember to transition this time so that chat can see it. You've earned
Double check.
your group 2 momentum. You may spend those now, or you may bank them, but I just go ahead and represent them there so we can all see them. So what you learn from your scan is that the ancient power cell that Lieutenant Ravosk accidentally kind of kickstarted and turned the whole thing on is rapidly losing power. So the device is winding. You are also picking up very complex energy and particle emissions. And of course, everyone's tricorders are on, and you're recording everything for later analysis. But as you look at it, it looks like a data stream.
Okay.
But not in any known kind of communication protocol that you're familiar with. But you look at the complexity of the signal, and it looks like it likely contains information because it's non-random and complex. Sorry, non-random, non-repeating, and complex. And that's what you get. That's what you get with. And there was I think we established a very strong burst of Verteron particle emission as the enclosure opened and exposed the object within. But maybe you're detecting, 1 or 2 particles here and there, but that burst of Verteron particles has ceased.
Okay, and you said it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you say it's a data stream, does that give us an indication? This is me asking, I guess, as a player, just to clarify verbiage, whether or not it's like a recording or a live communication.
Not really any way to know. It's a transmission.
Okay.
And it appears to be a transmission that contains data, not just noise.
Got it.
Can we capture that data in any way, or
your tricorders
we're
are
recording it?
currently
Okay.
recording it. You have to assume also, unless it's highly localized, that the Pioneer its sensors have noticed this as well.
Okay.
I will say that you're also that signal is also diminishing, and with that, the difficulty in contacting the Pioneer is going down. So you think you have a minute or 2 before you should be able to reestablish communications, or contact the Wave Rider to beam out.
As far as our group goes, did anyone else have any questions? Because I could spend a momentum to ask 2 more questions about the scan. But if this is enough information to act on now,
Yep.
we can.
Because you have the talent that allows you, when you spend a momentum to ask a question, you may get a second free one. Dr. Pren, you had a question or a thought?
Oh, I was planning in action,
Oh, okay.
so I'll hold it for a minute.
My only thought or suggestion or course of action would be to introduce yourself in traditional Starfleet manner. Like, this is Lieutenant Commander Ellis of the USS Pioneer. With whom are we speaking? That type of thing. But that's just because of a lack of imagination more than anything else.
No, I
I
can.
mean,
I
that's
can
probably
do that.
protocol.
Yeah, if we're gonna yell into the power source thing.
Is there a way to boost like the transmission? Like, can we like here, take my phaser?
Both of those are so in just the moment of as per usual, you're voicing over what the tricorder is saying, which probably everyone else's tricorder is saying it too, but that's just how it works, is that the person making the scan tells everyone what they're saying. And your fellow officers have ideas. One is we'll say, to insert some technobabble, you could potentially modulate the tricorder's waveform analysis crystal to enable you to simulate a transmission on the same frequency, like to see if whatever the device has a receiving capability, to see if it's interactive or just a straight broadcast. And Dr. Adair says, well, if it's a transmission, it looks like it's dying. What should we try to
Reverse the
power?
polarity.
Yeah, or should we try to boost the power or do something so we don't lose? If in fact it's a data stream, we've only got a couple of minutes left before it loses cohesion. So should we try boosting that? So you've got a couple of ideas, and you could spend one of those momentum to ask a question relevant to your ability to do either of those things.
Okay. Yeah, as long as I'm making it, let's spend a momentum, and I'll ask a question like, do I think I could talk to whatever's there?
So the first one for the momentum, and remember you have a free one. You suspect that an appropriately modulated signal, that it could receive it. You aren't, think of this as this kind of needle-like device in this entire chamber as an interface. The core computer or whatever technology system is not here, so you don't have a great scan of it, but it does appear both to be broadcasting and receiving. Just be sending a signal into this artifact and then receiving a signal out of it. So you think you could, if you acted quickly, try to basically broadcast on the same channel and see if it's possible to interrogate whatever computer system is connected to this transmitter. So,
All right.
And then your
Let's
free question.
free question. Does anyone else want to know something?
I mean, I'm just curious if there's anything that we can interact with in the space, because like we know, at least to my knowledge, we know that there's the orb of energy, and it's on the plinth in just like the center of the room. But like, do we know if there's any like consoles or any way that we can, interact with this more than just receiving this data stream or sensing the Verteron particles? I would be curious to know if there's any way we can interface with the machine or the system.
Okay. Yes, in fact, you know that because Lieutenant Ravosk was able to interact with it, that there was like an access hatch and this kind of needle-like structure. But in the ribs of the room, now that the device is fully powered, you detect at slightly higher than comfortable human height, there do appear to be kind of biometric receptors kind of within this ridge structure that when the room was powered down just kind of looked like decorative elements, but you can detect that there is an interface of sort on several of these kind of spines on the walls of the room. And as per normal Star Trek, you can just go, oh, it looks like it uses this kind of layout, and you can figure out how to use an entirely alien species interfaces just by poking some buttons with the help of your tricorder. So yes, it does appear that it is possible to, in the brief amount of time that you have remaining before the system powers down, that it is possible to attempt to interact with the systems directly, either through sending a signal or directly manipulating the interface.
Could we try both?
Sure.
All right.
Do we have enough time for both?
Well, we split up.
That
Ravak
depends.
and Vaughn go handle the physical systems, and
Okay.
we'll do the scan to try to get a signal sent here.
Awesome. I'm not going to introduce the complexities of there's some lovely mechanics for how to do time tasks and collaborative tasks and the kind of cascade of tasks with success and failure, but they take a little bit of a flow chart. So I'm just going to kind of simplify that down to say, yes, you have effectively 6 intervals, each one being roughly 30 seconds. So I'm going to ask you to make some rolls, and to describe what it is that you're doing. We'll determine from that the appropriate roll. If you are successful, we will allow you to roll effect dice. The effect dice, which are d6s by the way, will let us know how much progress you make. And if you make sufficient progress before 6 intervals pass, you will have been able to achieve your objective, and we can narrate what that objective looks like. So, who's doing what?
Vaughn's on the physical systems
Okay.
that Ellis described.
With Ravask.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, Ravak, this seems kind of your jam.
You heard the orders that Lieutenant Commander Ellis gave us, narrator.
Yes. Which, by the way, counts as a directive. So if at some point someone wants to spend determination, you can do that if any of your talents require you to spend determination. Or you may spend determination for a reroll if you need to. There's other uses, but many of your I don't think many of you have talents that require you to spend determination, but it is a resource that you have. All right, so Lieutenant Vaughn and Lieutenant Ravask, are you working together at one interface, or are you dividing and conquering?
I would suggest one.
Okay.
Yeah. Vaughn doesn't really.
Yeah, you're not an engineer, bud.
Yeah, no.
All right. So we'll say that Ravask says, Vaughn, you're with me. And then you two go over to one of these kind of spine-like structures. And Vaughn will be assisting by monitoring power flow and seeing if the system responds. So using your tricorder and any other relevant skills while Lieutenant Ravask attempts to figure out how this interface works. Who is on the signal attempt? I mean, call it the attempt to basically interrogate the computer.
It's me. Does Adir and Pren want to help?
I want to help, but I'm a doctor, not a con officer.
I don't know if I have any help in that. I think.
Aren't we all? Well, I think.
But doesn't Vaughn have...
Listen, you all got tricorders.
Yeah,
it's true. Okay, we can network our tricorders. We know how to do that.
Network them together.
Sure.
I think there needs to be some analysis on the signal because we're like trying to match like decoding their language real quick and trying to encode ours. So I feel like there's some cultural aspect to this that.
Oh, certainly, but like more processing power is better than
Exactly.
you know.
Yes. So we'll say that, and I'm fine with this. We'll say that Dr. Pren is assisting by making rapid modifications to, and it's using a medical tricorder, which is in some ways is different and in some ways more advanced than the typical tricorder. So you are using your medical tricorder. You're daisy chaining it to Lieutenant Commander Adir's tricorder to increase the bandwidth and blah blah blah, technobabble. So you're assisting that way, and Lieutenant Commander Adir is assisting Lieutenant Commander Ellis in trying to almost intuitively understand if this is a signal created by intelligent creatures. What are some methods of modulation that other PCs have used? Because although you are an anthropologist, of generally technologically advanced societies, so you, I'm sure, have a wealth of information on that front. So good. Let us start with the signal. So I'm going to say, Lieutenant Commander Ellis, this is going to be a reason science task assisted by control science from Dr. Pren and insight science from Dr. Adir. So Dr. Pren and Dr. Adir are each going to roll 1d20. This is your assist attempt. And Lieutenant Commander Ellis, you will roll the normal 2d20. And you remember you have a momentum that you can spend. The difficulty is 5. However, that difficulty is reduced by 1 because you have tricorders and things that you are using. So you have appropriate equipment, or can easily modify the equipment at hand. And as long as Lieutenant Commander Ellis rolls at least 1 success, any assists rolled by Dr. Pren and Dr. Adir will count.
All right. I think I will spend the momentum to add a d20.
Yes. Now, does anyone think that you have a focus that applies in this case?
Sensors and tricorders?
Yes.
No. Mine are all like xenobiology and genetics and
Yeah. Dr. Adir, I think
I mean-
xenoanthropology would count because you're actually using that to provide the insight.
Okay.
So I think you will also have a focus, which just means your
I was like, I have a lot of focuses that
Right.
could work.
your crit range is equal to your discipline.
Okay.
Your in this case science discipline. So everyone roll up and let's see what we get. Definitely let me know if you get a natural 20 though.
I mean, my mush brain. What am I rolling?
Rolling a d20. And
you.
you're looking to get equal to or below the combination of your insight and science.
Thank you.
All right. I have gotten 3 successes.
Lovely.
I did not get a success. I'm sorry.
I rolled a 17, but my insight is 12 and my science is 5.
Excellent. So you succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. No, it's good. It's fine. It's just taking longer because remember Ravosk was going to make some adjustments to your tricorder.
Yeah.
So you go to set it up and it's like, oh crap, no, he did this. He remodulated the thingy poo and or whatever. And so it takes you just a little bit longer to get the tricorders networked and up and running. So in this round, you're not able to help. All right. So I would like you to, what is your science discipline? Lieutenant Commander Ellis, the score, the value?
Oh, it is a 5.
I would like you to roll 5d6.
Oh boy. Let's see.
So,
And
yes.
total them?
No, so 1s and 2s. So one counts as 1 hit.
Okay.
2 counts as 2 hits. 3s and 4s count for nothing, so you can remove those. 5 and 6 count as 1 hit and an effect. So.
All right. I have a 1,
Yes.
a 2,
Yes.
and 2 5s.
So that
Ooh.
gets you 5 hits and 2 effects. So
Okay.
would you like to use those effects to get deeper into the system or to make your work faster? There's other things that could, these are the things that seem to make more sense to me. So you could just say
Let's
those effects count for gaining more access than you anticipated and kind of getting further along the process than you intended, or shortening the amount of time that it takes you to get where you're at.
I think we should shorten the time
Okay.
because it's definitely the signal's going. So
Beautiful. So in one interval, you basically make really great progress. You've been able to exclude any sort of uh, any parts of the signal that don't appear to be carrying information, right? And it's an old machine and it's alien, so you're not quite sure what's what. But you're really able to narrow down on the set of frequencies that appear to be the primary communication frequencies that this device was built to work on. And you start to be able to, we'll say that your quick scene ends with, Dr. Pren, I need those tricorders, as you prepare to calibrate and transmit a kind of a generic computer inquiry to see if you can, or some sort of rotating set of inquiries to see if you can get the computer system to respond. All right, we do one of those frame focus switches. So you guys are in the foreground, and Lieutenant Vaughn and Lieutenant Ravosk are in the back, and then we draw focus, and they become a focus, and we zoom in as you guys are kind of having to reach up a little bit high. Lieutenant Ravosk, although you're a rather tall fellow, so it's not too bad. But it's again clear that this was not designed for someone of your stature. And Lieutenant Vaughn is kind of probably just like going, I guess I'm tricorder guy now. But you're
Yeah,
skilled.
I'm just looking at like a battery level basically as it's going down. We're at like 85%. We're fine for now, but
Yep, you're skilled. So Lieutenant Ravosk, I think this is going to be your choice of reason or insight con. You're on mute.
Sorry. Reason con.
Okay.
What's con?
Con is systems control. Basically, it is often used for flying the ship, but it is also used for manipulation of computer systems and stuff.
Okay.
Devices, etc.
My reason con is 14.
Yes, because you're not prying it open and trying to manipulate the guts of it. You're actually trying to operate this alien device.
And I believe my computer's focus would apply.
Computers focus. Anyone who has a focus in computers or ancient technology, alien technology, those things would apply. Cool. Yes.
Okay.
And Lieutenant Vaughn, you are going to use you know what, I'll say, because you're using your tricorder to get information, but you're trying to provide Lieutenant Ravosk with guidance. So you can use either reason or insight con as well.
reason and insight.
Reason or insight and con.
Oh, okay.
Your
all
choice
right.
about whether you're just kind of applying logic or you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. Like if it was me, I'd probably
Pick
put the button
bigger
over
number.
here.
Pick the higher number.
Yeah.
Insight and reason are the same.
Cool.
Oh.
So
Well, but for the
Yeah.
narrative, are you
oh,
applying your logic? Are you using some of the skills you've learned from the Vulcan Science Academy distance school classes
yeah,
that they
it's
make for lowly humans, or are you just gutting it out?
Vaughn's definitely like going with more logic just based off of what
Yeah.
he's already encountered and just kind of like his toolkit.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's total 11,
And you'll be
we
Lieutenant Vaughn. You'll be rolling 1d20 as long as Lieutenant Ravosk achieves
I did good.
success. Awesome. I was going to say, do you want to spend some threat to buy additional die? I haven't told you what the difficulty is. The difficulty is 4.
Okay, so I will roll, and I got a 13.
And what is the total of your reason and con?
11.
Yeah. That doesn't assist.
Yeah, pretty poopy.
Does difficulty 4 mean I have to roll? I have to have 4 successes,
Yes.
which is impossible unless I let you buy threat.
Yes. Well,
Or buy it
you
with
could get
threat.
it on 2 d20s with 2 crits. And with an assist from Lieutenant Vaughn, it's achievable but very difficult.
Well, I'm not going to cheat. I already rolled 2 die.
Yes.
Um,
I will
so
say,
I would say,
if you want to
going into this, I would say I would buy 2.
Okay, so you want to give me 3 threat? Cool. So
I know I see your face, Hell, but like I physically can't succeed if I don't.
Yeah, but
No, you
what
can.
happens if we don't succeed?
You
Nothing?
could succeed all on your
I mean,
own if
that's
you got
fair.
2 crits, but
Would you rather me not?
I mean, that's so much threat.
Do you want me to do one?
I did
Okay.
steal all of the momentum, so I mean,
it's fine.
I
Don't
am
you
in
want
the
me to do
mindset of
one?
Dr. Pren, and Dr. Pren would never want you to do something that
Well, no,
is.
speaking character-wise,
What
out of
we're
character.
under
what would
pressure here. We
Ravast
need
do?
results.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Ravast, and again, it's kind of like a
Ravosk would hedge his bet. Oh, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but he would bet on at least getting 1 crit. So he would think that he would only need 3 successes or 3 rolls as long as 1 crits. So
Yeah.
I'll buy 1 dice.
Okay.
Concern.
That's fine. I already have so much threat, guys. It's fine.
I've been talking on you.
Oh no.
So I got a 13, which is a success, a 2, which I think is a
Yes.
crit,
Yes.
and an 8,
All right. So
which is a
that's
success.
4. That's 4.
That's 4.
What is your con discipline? The score of
What is that?
Yeah.
Con 3.
3. So I'd like you to roll 3 d6s.
2, 3. So I got, these are good. I got a 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 hits. I got another 2, which is 2
Mhm.
hits, and a 6, which is a hit and an effect, right?
Beautiful. Yes.
Good work.
So you I'll say in the 15 seconds or whatever, you start trying to just methodically go through and check different patterns, and then you remember, oh, these things have claws, so maybe it's just a couple of touch points, or maybe there's like you try some like simultaneous touching, and you get bored within like half that time, and you're already bored, so you just start kind of poking buttons, and that intuitive sense that you have, and just a little bit of frustration because of the time pressure, you accidentally happen upon these things. Apparently had very, very powerful grips, so unlike the interfaces that you're used to that are very, very sensitive due to humanoid squishy fingers, these things are much less sensitive to pressure. So you just start going frustrated, bang, 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 and then suddenly you see the mechanism begin to react. Would you like to get a little bit further into the interface, or would you like to shorten the amount of time that it takes?
What am I trying to do?
Trying to figure out how to access this thing and get it to respond. Kind of by the seat of your pants.
I mean, like, I'm not necessarily trying to communicate like the signal people are. I'm trying to get access to the system.
Yeah, you're basically
Yeah.
trying to gain access to the system, and Lieutenant Vaughn is helping because it doesn't appear, at least currently, to be some sort of visual readout. So he's kind of narrating, like, if anything you're doing is having an effect, so that you can either do more or less. Like, it's like, oh no, that looks like that's the self-destruct mechanism you've just activated, which it doesn't happen. But that's the role that Lieutenant Vaughn is playing. He's monitoring the system to try to give you some insight in the effect that your manipulation is having. So
Yeah, and the tricorder is like showing,
More
there's
access.
something, there's some kind of like fluctuation happening that's
Yes.
not related to the signal, but it's seems to be tied to
The
what
system seems to be
Ravosk is
responding.
doing.
Yes. So, would you like to make a little bit more
Access.
progress? Make more progress? All right.
Mm.
So we see the scene of Ravos lightly touching and then getting more frustrated and then finally just kind of pounding away. And Lieutenant Vaughn, you pick up an area of the wall adjacent to you. You pick it up first with your tricorder, and then you can see it with your eyes. It begins to flicker, as if some sort of previously undetected visual interface is activating. Cool. So that is. We'll go back to the signal, folks, because you only took one interval. That took two. So roughly 30 seconds for you to start to activate the visual interface. Only 15 seconds or so for you to narrow in and be ready to transmit. So we're going to do the same thing again.
And keep in mind, we only have 3 intervals left. So we're about halfway until, lights out.
Yeah, you have 4. Six intervals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Each, right? Like we're working
Nope.
simultaneously.
These are happening simultaneously. So they have
Oh.
they reduced the time from 2 intervals to 1 by spending the effects.
But
So
I didn't make and I won't make their progress slower
correct.
by not choosing. Okay,
Correct.
that's what I want to make sure of.
It's like a D&D round. They're happening simultaneously.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what was our difficulty?
Well, what are you trying to do?
Let's see. Where are we at the process? We've interpreted the signal.
You've been able to narrow down the band in which
Okay.
you believe you need to transmit.
All right. So I guess we
should
need to compose our message.
Yeah, you can compose and transmit it. So the next step is to start the protocol of trying to interrogate this alien computer system. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So once again, you'll be the primary. Dr. Pren is going to roll to assist, and Dr. Adir is going to roll to assist. With the same attributes and disciplines as before. The difficulty on this one, however, is 3, because you did a lot of
3?
work last time.
Okay.
If anyone in chat is familiar with the system, so if you do more than 5 work on the track, that's a breakthrough, which reduces the difficulty. I'm just kind of not going into all that description because it can take like 30 minutes to explain. But as you make really good progress, it gets easier than it was previously.
So with that, I think I won't. I'll just roll the 2d20.
Okay.
Because you guys will assist me, right? Right?
One hopes.
Yes, I got a success.
Good.
I don't know, what's the crit range?
Do you have it is 1 unless you have a focus that applies. And if you have a focus that applies, that increases the crit range to your discipline score.
That's fine.
I have a success and a crit success.
Lovely. So that's 3 from...
And I have 1 success.
So that's a total of 4, which earns you a momentum back.
Yes.
Yay.
Is there any way we can take away threat from you once you've got it?
I don't think so.
No, you can force me to spend it.
I mean, can we spend our points in chat for major boons?
Yeah.
We do have...
I did do that.
Well, we don't see the threat on stream.
1 major boon and 1 minor bane.
I don't think we're supposed to see the threat.
Oh yeah, you don't know what the threat is.
It's a surprise.
It's suspense, but it is calculated based on the general threat of the scenario, which doesn't have to be a threat of death. It's the general kind of energy of the scene. Usually a 1, 2, 3, potentially 4, and then multiplied by the number of players. So I have somewhere between 5 and 20 threat, plus a couple.
Concern.
So
I assume I roll those.
If you would like to use your minor boon to take a threat away from me, you can. Or you could turn it into momentum.
We should probably turn that into momentum.
I think momentum is handy at this point because we don't have that much of it.
All right. So, and this system,
I'd like some.
trying it out. we'll say that the default effect of a minor boon is to give you momentum, although you can specify if you want to use it in a different way or to do extra
Okay.
work.
So I got a 1 and a 2, so that's 3 things, and then I got a 6, which
Yes.
is a thing, and then an effect.
And an effect, yes. So would you like to use that effect to make a little bit more progress or take less time? I will say, because I'm not exposing all the mechanics, you're probably better off making more progress, given that.
Yeah, I was about to say, at this point, since we seem to be did good time last time, let's make more progress this time.
Excellent. Which will
Yeah.
get you that 5th work, which means basically another breakthrough. Yes. So you successfully, Dr. Pren finishes connecting the tricorders. You work together with Dr. Adir's help. Say, oh no, I think that's just a carrier wave. I don't think that actually that's a calibration signal. Don't worry about that. This is where the actual information is carried. Just using that insight into how sentient species communicate. And you are able to activate an automated routine with the tricorder to try various different methods of interrogating and interfacing with the alien computer. All right. So, Lieutenants Ravosk and Vaughn, you're starting to be able to activate some sort of alien view screen. Do you continue in the same vein, or are you going to try something different?
Well, Ravosk doesn't know that the screen turned on, right? He's focused into the system, and I'm just kind of like looking at my tricorder.
Unless you have a reason not to say, oh, it looks like there's some sort of screen that's activating. My assumption is that you will have said that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Vaughn, let's Ravosk know about the view screen, and then
What do you think?
just kind of ask Ravosk like how much progress do you think you've made? Like, do you need to get further into this?
Do you think, I'm asking you, not your character, that the view screen is worth pursuing, or do you think we can proceed without it? Like, would it help us with what we're doing, or is it a red herring? That sort of thing. And that, I guess that's open to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would be worth Vaughn going over to the view screen and at least telling Ravosk what's going on, because obviously he's not very capable with the computer system, with the system.
Yep.
So,
and
I could at least relay information.
Yeah, you were quite successful. You know that you've made progress. So it doesn't mean for sure that this is the best possible outcome, but you know because you were successful that it's not a bad outcome.
All right.
You know that meta
that direction.
But the meta is part of the plot. So the somehow, even though it's million-year-old alien technology, you know that you're on the right path. Maybe not the best one, but on not the wrong path.
All right. Keep going then.
Cool. So same rolls. Difficulty is 3 though.
Oh, good.
And you have momentum.
Can we have Vaughn roll before we decide whether or not I want to use momentum?
No.
All right. Just because bad rolls got us into this mess, I'm going to use 1 momentum. Right. Get an extra dice.
By that 3rd die. All right.
So I'm rolling 3 d20s, and my hit is reason con. Yeah, so that's 14.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. I had to.
No worries. And Vaughn, you're rolling the same.
Just 1 die.
Yeah. Reason con.
I really hope Vaughn's successful this time. I got 2 successes and a 15, which I don't think is a critical.
No.
Your boy just crit.
Oh.
I got 3.
Excellent. So that
critical assist.
That gets you 5, which earns you 2 momentum back.
Nice.
We're building momentum. That's good. So yes, With the intel from Lieutenant Vaughn, you are able to kind of start to deduce some of the patterns, and it becomes clear that at least at the layer of access you've been able to kind of accidentally find yourself in, this is primarily a physical interface for manipulating whatever this display is. So knowing that, you're able to actually power it up. Vaughn is there with a tricorder to record all of the alien symbology that pops up. It is not particularly familiar, although I will say a few of the symbols do have that potentially coincidental, but maybe not, resemblance to some ancient Bajoran glyphs. But what you recognize immediately is that this is a star chart.
Okay.
There is it is almost certainly, well, I'm going to say, because you're able to monitor, Lieutenant Vaughn, the kind of data flow, that this is retrieved from a data bank. It's not fresh from some sort of sensor array. So it is likely to be historical and, at least 500,000 years old. So it's probably not super accurate. But you see visually represented effectively a network of sites. Not quite sure about scale, because you're going to have to work with the computers to try to figure out what the measurement scale is, and the mathematics and language of this species to try to figure that out. But you're going to guess is that it's maybe a sector, just based on the density of bodies that are represented. But there does appear to be some sort of loose network of sites in a rough circle around a central, very stylized representation of a swirly object.
On
It's a
this star chart,
wormhole.
does it appear that there's anything that's like emphasized more, like a "you are here" kind of thing,
Yes.
or like
Yes.
okay,
You see, and you are watching, you see that that one of the dots in the kind of lower left-hand corner of this circle is glowing steady. There are like little like ant trails of like dots moving back and forth to the one to the immediate right of that. Up from the one that you think probably is the signifier of where you are, you see the dots go, but they don't come back, and then that one turns a kind of a darker, almost purplish color, and begins to flash in a beep 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 beep. Again, you'll have to take some time to interpret the symbology, but because it's successful and you have a tricorder and it's almost like magic, it looks like a communication network. It looks like these little ant trails are representing signals,
Mhm.
and the attempt to connect with the next node was successful, and the attempt to connect with this node was not. And as you're watching, this one starts to, it's not quite as large and it doesn't glow quite as brightly, but the tenor of its glow changes a bit, and then you can see the ant trail starting to work its way up to the next node from that one.
And I'm assuming Vaughn is relaying this information
Yeah.
to the rest of the crew.
Yeah, you're all shouting out at different things. It's very chaotic. Ravosk is probably like doing this and looking around the corner to take a look at it as you continue to manipulate the biometric sensor. Cool. So 3, 4. Cool. All right. So it looks like we have one last round for each of you, more or less, unless one or both of you spend a bunch of effects to get in a little bit of extra work by yourself another round. So let's go back to the signal. The the networked tricorders are interrogating the alien computer system. So we can just roll and see how successful it is, or how successful you are at helping to narrow in on the appropriate protocol, and see if you can't extract some data directly out of the system before it powers down. I don't think any of the nope. Difficulty 2, however.
All right, I'm gonna spend a momentum just in case we get it back. That's always fun.
Yep. I don't think any of the focuses change. I think the attribute and department all stay the same, so it's really just the same rolls.
Okay.
Unless you have some other idea, I'm open to other suggestions about what.
So I have some good news and I have some bad news. Good news, I have a crit success and a success. Bad news, I did roll a 20.
Excellent. Love that. All right.
I rolled a 19. I can't help you.
Okay.
You muted, Kel.
Oh.
I rolled a 2.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So that's a total of 5 successes, right?
Yep,
Think
5
so.
successes.
And a critical fail.
And also that
a
thing that
crit.
happens.
I will invoke that complication now.
Great.
You are first. Let's go ahead and roll your 5d6.
All right, I got a 1, which is a normal thing, and then I got 2 5s and a 6. So I think that would be 4 successes and 3 effects.
Yep.
Okay.
You could spend one of those effects to do one more work, which gets you to that breakthrough again, which is probably an important thing.
Yeah,
then
we'll do
spend
that.
the other 2 to reduce the duration. So this can happen
Yeah.
in a very short period of time,
Yeah.
which might give you one attempt to mitigate the consequence of
Sounds good.
the complication. The consequence of the complication is that the system responds much more aggressively. As soon as you maybe run through 2 potential protocols to interface, and at the third one, it's about to rotate again, but the alien computer system has picked up on the fact that someone's trying to connect with it, and it alters its own protocols to match. And there's an immediate handshake. And then Dr. Pren, you got one tricorder in each hand. You immediately see the entire database of both tricorders flashing through.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
There's a significant amount of data is being downloaded on both directions. So everything in your tricorders, everything from recent sensor logs to all of your medical database, is now being sucked into this alien computer system and then transmitted out through this network.
You love to see it.
And is it going to that purple?
There are still little ant trail dots going up to the one that turned purple, but there's nothing
Mhm.
coming back, and it's still doing
Mhm.
that flash. And so your guess is that just means there's a malfunction. It looks like there's no, like, it's trying to ping, but it's not getting a response back to the one that's
see.
to the kind of upward, but the one that's going to the right, it looks like there's a two-way flow of data. So you probably hear Lieutenant Commander else like, up, after Dr. Prince says, it's reading everything in all of our databases. It's like, it's like, yeah, and that data is now flowing out to some other site.
Geez.
Yep. So
Yeah, that's a big ol' yikes.
So I'm going to say that the lieutenants have a chance to do something first, and then I'll give Lieutenant Commander Ellis, I'll give the doctors a chance to see if there's a way to mitigate or if there's another action. And that'll be the end of our high tension scene as you interface with this computer system, because that's when the power will run out.
So we have a chance to, do we, like when you said we're doing a thing first, do we have a chance to mitigate what's happening over there?
You know that it's happening, so you could
We're shouting at each other.
Yeah, you could change.
Yeah, I assume you're like, make it stop, make it stop.
You could
Turn it off, turn it off.
Change your
Put it
approach
down.
and attempt to shut down the transmission if you'd like to, but you are
If
aware
I'd
of
like.
it. Yes.
And what kind of data, like what kind of standard data lives on a tricorder? Like nothing confidential, right?
Nothing that would jeopardize like Starfleet, like nothing.
Wouldn't be like shield modulations or anything like that.
The shield modulation frequencies of the Pioneer wouldn't be on it, at least not directly. But tricorders hold, I don't know, whatever gigaquads of information. It's a massive, massive amount of information. So anything that you might want to reference on mission, plus everything that it has picked up on the mission since the last time it was cleared, is going to be. I mean, it's already in the alien computer, and that data is flowing out. I would say a significant portion of it has flowed out already. So
I feel like the what's the word I'm looking for? The ideal of the Star Trek that I like to believe in is that we would volunteer that information. So, and this is me talking to the group.
Yeah.
Do we want to stop it? This is like me not in character, talking to you guys not in character.
Here, I feel like it's very rude when we start up a handshake protocol for them to be like, and I can read your whole database.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's an intrusion for sure.
Yeah, but Ellis feel like, hold on, just no, hand me those tricorders, doctor. Hold on. That kind of thing. So you might get the vibe that Ellis thinks that he can probably handle it because he seems confident about scanning things.
Yeah.
If you want to keep on doing the investigation of what all this is.
Yeah, I was going to say.
However, if you don't think Ellis can actually handle it, you can go ahead and do it. It's up to you, I think.
What
I will say, there are competing protocols. You would know this as a Starfleet officer. There are competing protocols. You want to learn as much as possible, right? And changing your direction to try to shut off a signal would impair your ability to do so. At the same time, although the data included does not represent classified information, it is potentially extremely valuable tactical information for anyone who might have it, particularly any alien species that doesn't know about the Federation, which there's lots of them out here in the Expanse.
Like the Borg.
Or the Borg. Any hostile who has
what do we
detailed
stand
physiology and etc. is so it's what I'm trying to say. It's up to you. Either way, either decision would be in furtherance of the mission. It's just whether you are deciding on the, like, it's like, well, let's roll the dice and risk it and get as much information as possible out, or whether it's we really don't want to risk broadcasting everything about the Federation, basically the biology of member species, the Encyclopedia Galactica, etc., out to some potentially unknown, potentially hostile civilization. Your choice. And you have literally 5 seconds to make it. I mean,
like
writer
in game.
We have to cut the power.
I writer room. I think like this is the only way we have to communicate, and it's kind of like a weird way to introduce ourselves to this other whatever species, because we're getting their information too, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, but their first communication to us was your prophets are dead.
Well, all your prophets are dead.
Yeah.
Sure, but
all of them.
But I mean, just because someone has a bad introduction doesn't mean we can't figure out more about them.
Very good. That's true.
I mean, like, so like we don't have time to do a full cost benefit analysis, but like if
Yeah.
it's like if it's the Borg, right? They probably already have this information about us
Exactly.
because they've had access to Voyager.
Mhm.
If it's the Romulans, I mean, like they're the Romulans. They've been hanging out with us forever. So
Yeah.
And
The-
if they're the prophets, they're the prophet. Like,
Right.
if they're that powerful, they're that powerful.
Yeah.
Like,
The-
I don't feel like this is harmful.
You're right.
As to, like,
The threat
Riker
is
Room.
that it's an unknown.
right, yeah, that's the issue.
Aren't,
Well,
aren't
we
we
don't know.
explorers of the unknown? Isn't
You
that
are
the point
explorers
of
of
the
the unknown.
Federation?
You don't know whether any elements of this civilization are extant, and you also don't know whether they are warp capable. So I think probably the biggest and clearest risk is that you are potentially revealing the existence of warp technology, not necessarily the blueprints to make it, but just the knowledge that there is a larger warp capable galaxy to a non-warp capable civilization. It seems like it's a low risk because they're probably all dead, but as Starfleet officers, you're probably like, there's not a huge risk if it's another civilization of similar technology. If it's advanced and they don't know about the Federation and you're giving them this information, and they're hostile, that could be a problem. Or if it's not advanced enough to be warp capable, it could be a prime directive violation. But both of those seem like low risks, so it's really up to the players and characters to decide which side to err on.
Yeah.
I mean,
It comes from a complication, so there's not a right answer.
from the writers' room again, I think a civilization that is wormhole capable isn't going to care too much about warp capable. That's just
Maybe.
Only, I mean, I think that depends on if their wormholes only go to one place or not.
Yep.
fair, but writer room, we know that there aren't any natural wormholes in the Alpha Quadrant, and that granted this space is weird with gravitational and like what was it, temporal fluctuations, meaning that it could have been normally like a non-artificial wormhole, and then there's issues. But this seems like it's more artificial. So that's, again, writer's room.
Yep.
I have no idea if my doctor would know this.
Yeah, and it's all just it's like I said, comes from a complication. Therefore, there's no right answer.
I'm gonna
Each is
I'm gonna
come
keep
with their own
digging.
downside.
Yeah, I was
You're
gonna
gonna keep
say
digging.
story
Okay,
wise, I
well-
think it's more interesting if you get more
Well,
data.
Okay.
If I
Alright.
On them.
if I could, if I may, I guess thinking from the perspective of Vaughn, so it's not in the moment. It's kind of like Vaughn's reaction to it, I guess. Like what he would do, is that like being that he's a tactical officer and everything that's in our tricorder is for the Federation. It's for it's for our mission. It's very sensitive information regardless of what society that we're dealing with. Like Vaughn's gonna want to stop this at all costs, like because yes we're intruding, but
So can I
like we're intruding on.
propose
Go ahead.
that Vaughn runs over to Ellis to assist Ellis in trying to shut it down while Voss keeps trying to dig for information?
Well, I think Vaughn is not going to follow. He's not going. Vaughn's not going to help out. He's going to like just shut it down.
Excellent. Which can actually work. So what it means so Ravosk is going to continue after a brief pause and like, well, you know what, we only have a few seconds left anyway, and the damage is probably already done. So let me just see what last little bit of information I can get out, or if I can get any more information to display and be recorded. Whereas Vaughn's tactical training just does the same calculation but comes to a different conclusion. And that's that nope, it's not worth the risk. So going from assisting you is actually going to attempt a different outcome. So I'm going to call this a contested role. So you
Okay.
are each going to roll your logic, or sorry, your reason and con. The difficulty is technically 1, which just means it's possible for neither of you to succeed. But it's basically whoever scores the highest gets the outcome that they're going for.
So 2d20.
And yes, and you can both buy You can both buy dice with momentum, and any momentum and any. Whoever. If Ravosk gets 1 success and Vaughn gets 3 successes, that might be able to help earn you some momentum back. I think that's not technically how it works, but I don't want to foreclose you from using momentum if you'd like.
So Ravosk, not a scientist, right?
Yeah.
I not invested in this at all. I'm just doing my job at this point. I'm not going to use any momentum.
Okay.
But just to ease your mind, James, if you're thinking about it, like Vaughn, I imagine would feel strongly about this, and I would not
Yeah.
blame you if you wanted to use momentum.
Yeah, I was gonna buy 1d20.
Okay. Yep.
So-
You
Can I-
spring into action to say, nope, I don't like this.
So
Can I
what
use
is my-
chat points to remove this?
Oh, no.
Let's try and minimize the infighting.
No, it's
I
fine.
was joking.
I
apologize.
love it. Conflict on the crew. It's fantastic.
So with my target is 14.
Yes.
I have a focus. What's my crit range? What numbers are crits?
It is your con discipline. So if your con discipline is whatever 3, it's 1 to 3. So
Shucks.
Yeah,
Okay.
having a focus just expands the crit range from 1 to
I got a
whatever your
4
discipline is.
and a 5.
Oh, so
So,
that's 2.
2 successes.
That's quite good.
And I got a 1, a 5, and a 7.
So that's 4
All right.
successes.
I think you
He
succeeded.
wants it. He wants it.
He needs it. Vaughn needs it. Like this is
Yeah.
this is core to his character.
Well, the good news is that builds up your momentum track.
Great.
Which is again technically I think not how that works, but that's fine. I'm fine to give you all momentum because every time we switch things, you're going to lose some anyway, and so you're gonna need it. So Ravosk is just like, I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer, not a tactical officer, and just continues and yes, the portions of the screen that were kind of flickering in and out become high resolution. Additional data begins to appear in the tactical or in the visual overlay, like identifiers for certain areas in this language appear, all of which is being recorded. So you are successful in getting I'm not going to make you roll effect dice to figure out. You are successful in getting a little bit of additional information, but just as that's starting to happen, Vaughn sets a low-level EMP, directional EMP, out of your tricorder, and you fry it. You're like, nope. Awesome. So, in the last 10-15 seconds before the power threshold drops below where you believe the transmission can be maintained, one last chance for the doctors to try to do something. And it's going to be a choice either of either letting things just be, getting more information out, or putting less information in.
I mean, as a xenoanthropologist, I want all the information.
Yep.
And as a medical doctor, I cannot afford for more biological information to get to them.
Yeah.
Because then they'd know the vulnerabilities of everybody on our respective planets.
The complete genome.
Yeah.
Any society out here is not going to, is unlikely to be a signatory to the various conventions that prevent targeted biological weapons. There, you are very, very aware of the potential downside of even seemingly benign medical information getting in an adversary's hand.
They could make a genophage.
Easy. So
They could also very easily get that information elsewhere.
Exactly.
Could they? Maybe they're very far
Just
away and they
saying.
couldn't get that information
Yep.
easily anywhere else.
it is certainly in alignment with the character and established protocols to not expose a lot of a full medical database to an alien culture, especially
I'm
before you.
going to yank my tricorder and like de-network it from the others.
Okay. So
My network.
one of you is going to be assisting Dr. Ellis, depending upon what Dr. Ellis decides to do. It's either going to
Uh-oh.
be Dr. Adair, who's happy to let it ride, or it's going to be Dr. Prin, who's trying to help shut it down.
Yeah, you know what? I've gotten bad vibes from all of this, so I think we're going to shut it down.
Okay.
Okay, then I will assist.
Yes.
All right, I'll buy momentum.
Buy a die with momentum. Done.
I have a success.
Excellent.
I have 2 successes.
All right. I won't increase the difficulty because it's basically doing the same thing you were doing before. There's not, unlike with Vaughn. I mean, if both Ravaska and Vaughn had decided to try to shut the thing down, the difficulty would have gone back up because it's a significantly different kind of activity. So I won't increase the difficulty. So I will say by the very, very quickly and easily, you're able to stop the data flow out before the signal peters out, just based on power loss. So you are able to prevent additional gigaquads, because that's what people keep saying, of data flowing out. So instead of it being 90% of the total database, it's more like 78% of the total database. So again, it will take some time and analysis with the ship computers to determine exactly what information was exposed, and what information was exposed into the computer, and whatever latency there was between the alien computer system, and whatever transmission was being sent out. But you should be able to estimate however much was actually broadcast. But you did mitigate the exposure somewhat. However, the exposure is greater than half, even with the mitigation.
Take that, Vaughn.
But it's not 100%. And you do have, you have a visual record of everything that was displayed on the visual interface before you fight it. And after all this kind of rushing around and yelling at each other kind of stuff, the cascade of lights begins to slow and then flicker, and then there's in all the activity, you weren't really aware of the kind of very, very low hum that had pervaded this chamber, until it lowers and kind of fluctuates, and then eventually returns to silence as the complex powers down. All the communication complication that was preventing your communicators from contacting the Wave Rider, and also the Pioneer, has also stopped, has also ceased.
I feel like if this were an on-TV episode of Star Trek, the next thing that would happen is our communicators would beep, and the captain would be like, "What the hell are you guys doing down there?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to give you guys a chance to say something before that happens, but you're right. That's exactly. And so unless someone wants to have a very short scene where you have a chat before the captain contacts you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's have Ravask and Vaughn do a scene, because Ravask is like, "What the hell?"
Yep.
And Vaughn is like, "Security."
Sure.
Actually, that's the scene. Vaughn is not personally offended, but is like professionally like our orders were to get as much information as possible. You're the least senior person here, and you took it upon yourself to potentially irreparably damage an alien piece of equipment that was about to shut down anyway.
That is correct.
Whether
But-
that's true, like whether that's true or not, that's how Ravosk feels.
Yes.
Right. And you know, I mean, Vaughn leapt into action and, you know, took it upon himself to do that. You know, being that he's military, like he understands the consequences of his actions and, you know, what may follow, but it's also worth Vaughn explaining, like, we were losing a lot of information to some unknown entity, regardless of, you know, where it was going, and it, you know, it was in our best interest to prevent the loss of that information, so that way this mission isn't an entire wash. So that way we can go back to Starfleet and explain what we saw.
Yep. And I
Do
will
the rest of us hear this?
Sure. Yeah. And I will say, Vaughn, you start that by quoting subsection and paragraph of Starfleet security protocol. So what you did was supportable by protocol. As with making a different decision, because you all have a lot of discretion, but it's like, why'd you fry it? I mean, it was going to die anyway. It's like, because Starfleet regulation.
Yeah, not to mention that we were losing a lot of biological data, which could have easily been used to make weapons.
Yep. So Ravosk being very reasonably frustrated, Vaughn saying, "But I acted within protocol. This was a clear security threat," and Dr. Prin chiming in to support, saying, "And it was biological data that could be used to create really horrifying weapons." So it's I know it's just the stuff that's on our tricorders, but it's not an overreaction to try to shut it down. But you had your toy taken away from you before you were done with it, so there's still frustration.
It's not that I necessarily think, or that my character necessarily thinks that Vaughn did anything wrong.
Your character's just frustrated.
You were having fun
frustrated because I was playing with the thing.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And now it's broken. I mean, if you want to, you can try to find a way to power it back up. But
or is there anything that Vaughn can do to, like, kind of like smooth it over with Ravosk? Because
that can certainly be a scene in the future.
All right.
But chirp chirp on Lieutenant Commander Ellis's no. Chirp chirp on Dr. Adir's communicator. And you hear the voice of Commander Vosral say, "Away team, report." We detected a high power multivariant transmission from near your location.
We have an incomplete transmission. Kind of a wait for another response from
Vosral.
Yeah. How do you spell that?
Vasral. 2 words.
Vasral. Thank you.
Voss being the first name. So he can be Commander Rawl, but okay. I think it's Bolian tradition to say that. And if not, I'm making that up. Or he just prefers
No, you're not making that up.
Okay. So, do you report the data leak?
Based off the doctors, I'm gonna say yes, but
I would.
I'm gonna like kind of like, what's the term I'm looking for? Like,
you got to front
my
load with.
Yeah, like,
we got all this alien data and we connected to the thing.
Exactly.
There was
I don't want
slight mishap when we connected, and our data from the tricorders went onto their network. But
that
don't
Oh
worry,
man,
we got
Dr.
lots of
Friend's
stuff from
log
them
is going to
too.
be so different from this.
Yeah.
I want to put as much sugar. I want to sugarcoat the situation.
Keep in
you're,
mind,
it's
you
a,
would know that the rest of us are going to be putting the stuff in our report. So
It's
you're
true,
obviously
yeah.
not going to try and
Oh.
lie or conceal something that
No.
you know that we're going to report.
And I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like lie. It's just like I said, just phrase it in a way where it sounds just a little bit better.
so
It's smoother.
you're making a doo-doo sandwich, basically. It's like we got lots of data. It was really awesome, ancient technology, yada yada yada. There was a little bit of data that flowed from our tricorders, like roughly 78% of the entire database was absorbed by the computer, and some unknown amount of that was transmitted out to an unknown location. But also, we acted very quickly to mitigate that, so it wasn't everything. So yes, you do the
Yep.
typical bad news sandwich.
Thank
He absorbs that and says, probably a good idea to return to the Pioneer for a debriefing. We're obviously going to need you to hand over your tricorders and all the data. We'll get the analysts working on it right away. But
Yeah, we're on our way.
hey, didn't blow anything up. So good job. I'm sure the data will be very interesting.
Whatever's
I was
left.
waiting for that delayed explosion.
Yeah, and then suddenly a rumble as the whole
Like-
as the whole thing collapses. No, you're not in any immediate danger. Because you modified the pattern enhancers. We'll say we have a scene of you packing up the area, taking a few last scans, probably going back and taking some really high detailed scans of the bas relief carvings, because you certainly know that the anthropology and linguistics departments are going to be very interested in that. So you do kind of a mission wind down, clean up, pack out all your trash, and then head back towards the bulkhead doors that separate this from the flooded portion of the chamber, just to be close to the
Before
White
we
Rider.
leave,
Go ahead. Yes.
before we leave, can I like use empathic abilities to see if there's any whatever, just something else here, some sort of presence.
There is. It's very subtle. There's something.
Okay. Is it related to the central thing, or is it to the room
Yes.
itself?
Yes,
To the room itself.
No, the black cracked hourglass. By the way,
Mhm.
what do you do about that? So we'll say that you didn't mention that over open communication channel with Vasral intentionally, because you never. He's cautious, but you probably started to mention it, but then realized
Mhm.
protocol is that all communications between command and away teams are recorded.
Yeah.
And you might not even want that, because clearly the corpse of a prophet / wormhole alien is very politically explosive. What do you do with it?
Is there any way to, retrieve it without
Yep.
interacting with it?
Yeah, how big is it again? I mean, I assume we have specimen containers.
It's like
because
You could pop it into specimen. You could either close its enclosure. I'm going to say you can close the protective
we put
shielding
it in
around it and then
something-
put that in a specimen. Yeah, sure.
we put it in something opaque.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
black.
definitely have a container that's that size.
Yep, for sure. No problem.
It's like standard issue.
Yeah.
And I just I repeat
name one scene in one Star Trek series when they needed to carry something out, and it's like, oh, we only brought the medium-sized one. We need the large one. Never happens.
Yeah.
You just happen to have, although it was never seen in any scene before, you just happen to have something with a strap on it that's kind of
was
silvery and
stored-
futuristic looking.
It was stored in a
I'm
transporter.
literally picturing an exact canister that Dax had in one episode
Perfect.
right now in my head.
Yes, you have it. And
Yeah, dead prophet sized.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, it's quite heavy. But
I'll carry it.
Ravas can for sure carry it.
Yeah.
And I would say, Dr. Adir, you're not picking up any, you're not picking up any thought patterns or emotion patterns, but there is, you're not even,
something.
it could even be psychosomatic, but proximity to it and looking at it gives you that same icy but hot emotional backwash of desperation and rage, but more like a hollow echo than an active feeling sentient creature.
Okay.
Almost like the emotion was so powerful that it embedded itself in the atoms and molecules themselves, and an untold number of millennia later is still leaking. Yes.
Is there a way to contain it? Like, what's the term I'm looking for? With like energy, so it doesn't, possibly leak into our ship or
Certainly, if you
something?
return to the Wave Rider, you could set up a containment field.
Okay,
And you
cool.
can provide specifications that could help to block known psionic carrier waves or whatever.
Cool.
I'm going to say no. You do not have that with you because there's no feasible reason why you would have brought that.
Okay.
Cool.
And I would just also reiterate what we already know about not letting others know about what we discovered here.
Yes.
For sake of what's the term? I can't think of it right now. My brain's mush.
Yeah. Your directives are.
Thank you.
You take the moment to remind everyone of your directives around keeping anything sensitive very close to your chests. So you return to the bulkhead doors. You are close enough now that there's no risk, so you activate. You ping the computer on the Wayrider, and in ones and twos, you beam back onto the Waverider. Yes.
As soon as we're on the Wave Rider, like before we start taking off and stuff, start doing detailed medical scans of all of the crew. Because as far as I am aware, by Dr. Pran, nobody has ever been directly like in contact with Verteron particles as a biological life form. Like everybody else has been like shielded, like subspace shielding, or like the kind of shielding that just exists because of the hulls of our ships.
Yeah.
So
no one has stood barefoot on the side of a wormhole before, so that is appropriately prudent. So yes, why don't you make a difficulty 2 scan with your medical tricorder, which means it's a difficulty 3, but because you have medical tricorder, that reduces it to a 2.
Okay.
Or would you? I'm going to say that the ship sensor. You could ask Ravos to reconfigure the Wave Rider's sensors to help. But if you're looking for,
No,
I think the best practice would probably be just use your medical tricorder.
Yeah, I think that's probably gonna make the most sense.
Yes.
Okay, so
2. And you have a crap ton of momentum if you wish to spend it. And remember that momentum can also be used to ask further questions.
okay, I'm gonna spend 1 momentum to
Okay.
buy an extra die. Okay, and then what would that be? Like
It's going to be reason science. Reason medicine.
reason medicine. Okay.
Yep.
No, I cannot roll.
You rolled 3 dice and none of them?
Yeah, none of them are a success.
Oh.
What's your reason medicine? Should be
Um,
insanely high.
My reason medicine is a 15.
Yeah.
And I rolled a 16, a 17, and an 18.
Wow, your dice just hate you, huh?
Yeah. So
those are the dice for D&D.
yes.
Yeah, put those dice away.
So you scan, and we'll say that it's not that you don't detect anything. It's that you realize that it's going to take. You're probably going to need specialized equipment in one of the laboratories. But so you can it's still not a success, but you can rule out that anyone has like incipient radiation poisoning or is going to start to mutate into some sort of weird salamander creature and then mate and leave children on an alien world, which is a terrible episode, by the way, very cringy, very inappropriate. But
Prime Directive.
yeah,
Who is she?
yeah, your tip, you scan, no one's lost a limb, none of that stuff.
Good.
So it doesn't appear to be any threat, but you think you're probably going to need specialized lab equipment. Because it's never happened, your tricorder is not configured to detect strange spatiotemporal fluctuations in a living creature's tissues from verteron particle exposure. So,
Okay, so
no intel.
I issue a order to the remaining crew members that once we've done our debriefing, I want to see all of them in medical so that I can get a full system scan of each one of them, because we have no idea what this would do to a person.
Yes.
The Wave Rider you've said previously is designed for I guess longer than short term
Yes.
Planetary reconnaissance. So what kind of medical facilities does it have?
Basic.
Okay. I was thinking, depending on how insistent Dr. Pren is, she might make somebody go sit in one of the beds and get a thorough scan.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that because it is a planetary survey vessel, you're gonna need one of the astrometric labs,
Yeah.
or you're gonna need access to the systems and laboratories that are designed to study spatial phenomena, and everything on the Wave Rider is really focused on planetary exploration and survey.
That's fair.
So, and even though the scan failed, that there's not an immediate threat, so it can wait. Or can it? No, it's fine. No one grows a tail yet. So,
Yet.
All right. Well, just because, we'll say, Vaughn, you are going to need to pilot us out. So you see this conversation as everyone is stowing your equipment and replacing the pattern enhancers and putting everything back where it belongs. There's a small cargo area for samples. It does have the capability of establishing a containment field in case you find anything that's radioactive or otherwise might be hazardous. So I'm going to say you do, at Dr. Adir's suggestion, you do set up a low-level containment field around the canister containing the artifact, and adjust the parameters to filter out any kind of gross psionic energy. And Lieutenant Vaughn, time for liftoff. So this is going to
make sure everyone's buckled in.
Yes, this is going to be a control con roll, difficulty 2.
Control con. Okay.
This is where you crash the Wave Rider.
Don't say that.
You have tons of momentum, though. And remember, one of them is going to go away when we actually, after this scene. So,
well, let me just tell you, I should have spent that momentum. I got a 20 out of 12.
Ooh. Complication. What is the complication? Oh, I know. All right. So you activate the systems. Everything's great. And then just as you're powering up, excuse me, there's a lurch. You probably missed it in your scans, or activating the machinery deep in this complex had the effect it shook some stuff loose. So the ground beneath the Wave Rider begins to crack. And so before you're able to get the Wave Rider fully airborne, there's a lurch to port. The landing gear is still in contact, but the ground underneath the landing gear begins to collapse, and you begin to slide into a crevasse. So, I would like you to see if you can fix that with some fancy flying.
Let's see. What are my options here? I'm looking at my tasks and my talents.
It's going to be another control con.
Another
but,
control con.
but the difficulty is going to go up.
I'm definitely using momentum for this.
That's a good idea.
Can
The difficulty is 3.
Can I assist in any way
How
as an
can you-
engineer? Can I divert power
Yes,
or?
you certainly may. You are at a shared kind of engineer ops systems operation console, because that's where you would sit. So yes, you may assist by diverting power to the lateral
To
thruster.
the thruster.
Yeah.
Okay.
To compensate for the. Yeah. Cool. So yes. So how many momentum would you like to spend, or I should say, how many die would you like to buy there, Lieutenant Vaughn? Given that the consequence of failure is sliding, is the entire wave rider sliding into a crevasse.
Yeah, that's a pretty big consequence.
I mean, you probably
I'm
won't
gonna-
die, but it's going to be a process.
Yeah, well, I don't want to
It'll
damage the wave
be
rider.
a long report.
Yeah, and Vaughn doesn't like paperwork. I'm gonna buy 2.
Okay. Well, the good news is, the bad news is that wipes out a bunch of your momentum. The good news is you have the momentum to spend. So you are rolling 4 dice. Ravosk is assisting with 1. That is control engineering for you, Ravosk, and it's another control con for you, Lieutenant Vaughn, at difficulty 3.
So I rolled a 3, a 10, a 5, and a 14.
And your target number is
15. Well, control con total is a 15.
So that's 4
That's all
successes,
success.
and it's small craft operations. So I believe the 3. How many of those crit?
What determines a crit again?
What
I'm
is
sorry.
your con discipline score?
Oh, con discipline is.
I think it's a 4, but tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't see.
It's the same place you were just looking. It's just the number next
11.
to con.
Oh, sorry. Con is 4.
Okay, so everything that's a 4 or below counts as 2.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then 1 crit.
Wow.
Okay, so that gives you 5 successes.
And I got a standard success. I got a 9.
So that's 6 successes. Excellent. So you earn back 3 momentum. So it looks dicey there for a moment, as you start to slide. But then, and you haven't really had to do this much, but just a well-oiled machine. Ravoss swivels to the side, diverting power to lateral thrusters. Vaughn, you just expertly, just by feel, adjust with that additional thrust, and so instead of sliding down, it just kind of, there's a bit of a swing as the wave rider rights itself, now fully airborne over this kind of collapsing sinkhole, and then you power it out.
Gently to erase everybody's memory that this ever happened.
Right. There's a little bit of there's a scene of everyone kind of swaying a little bit and people kind of grabbing consoles. There's some crashing in the back. Maybe one of the pattern enhancers wasn't tied down quite tight. So there's a moment when everyone's stomachs are in their mouth for just a second, and then everything's fine. And then just very, very smoothly, you power the Wave Rider up, kind of along the very spiky mountains that ring this valley, with the beautiful waterfalls cascading down up over the top, and then up into the cloud layer, then above the cloud layer, and then very rapidly accelerating, exiting the atmosphere. Rendezvous with the Pioneer. Engage the docking sequence. The computer takes over. There are a series of very satisfying thuks as the docking clamps engage, and you are once more interfaced with the ventral hull. So
You have nothing to be ashamed of. It's not your fault that the ground collapsed underneath you. Meta, it's your fault. But in the game, your character has no reason to be ashamed.
I mean, we could say
it's
the
not
same thing
Lieutenant
for
Vaughn's
Ravoss.
fault. It's James'
True.
fault.
Yeah.
On the way down, I was already anxious and white knuckling it. So I imagine that Dr. Pren lets out like this really audible sigh of relief once they're perfectly airborne.
Yeah.
I can picture.
Like very loud.
I just
can
turn around.
picture-
And, I heard that.
Or Voss mutters under his breath, "This wouldn't have happened if this thing had a warp core."
Right.
Whether that's true
Even
or
though
not,
it does,
I'm
it
still gonna
wouldn't
say
make
it.
any difference.
No.
But I think it is certainly in character for Lieutenant Rivas to start to think about how he can convince Captain O'Keir to allow him to retrofit a warp core into this ship, because it's just stupid that it doesn't have one. But spec, they don't have one. So maybe it takes up too much space, but you're already starting in your mind to sketch out specifications and a plan and an approach to convince the captain. So yes, you are greeted as you exit. There's a bit of a ramp that leads into the main shuttle bay with the sole purpose of going down to the Wave Rider. So you, I will say, Dr. Pren, it's not just the attachment of the docking clamps, but as soon as life support is switched over to the Pioneer, the quality of the air changes slightly. The smell changes to something that smells like the Pioneer as the air recirculation is shared with the shared atmosphere. And so just like, okay. Yes, we're definitely back where we're supposed to be. Excellent. And you are met by security officers.
That's good, because I was I was like, someone should call some security officers because of the thing that we have on the ship.
Yeah. They don't have weapons drawn on them. They're not here to arrest you or anything like that. But so as you tromp up the ramp into the main shuttle bay, the security officers are just kind of shooing out the last of the maintenance crew that was in here. So by the time you all are up on deck, it's 4 security officers and you, and they're just kind of standing at attention. And then Commander Vasral and Captain O'Keir walk in through the doors.
I can see it. I can see it perfectly in my mind's eye. The turbo lift or the shuttle bay doors.
Yeah.
I can see the Bolian.
Yep. O'Keir is probably like just buttoning up the flap of his tunic. Maybe he was playing handball or something. Because as he's wont to do, he's a little bit of a cowboy. Well, hey guys. Boss over here tells me that you had an eventful time. We sure picked up a signal.
Yes, sir. We were right there.
Dismiss.
Yes,
the captain says to the security detail.
I was going to say, do we want to talk about
They I will say they look a little bit like, why
are we here?
And they know better than to ask, but like you've maybe met some of them or you saw some of them in the morning down at the mess hall.
I work out with them.
Yeah. These are people that you know. And a couple of them kind of look, it's like, what's going on? But then they know they're not supposed to ask, so they leave. All right, so what's the skinny?
I mean, before we continue, how much does the captain know about like what Vasral said to me? Like
You don't know.
Okay.
But he,
so
in addition to being an
intelligence
intelligence officer, he is the XO.
Mm-hmm.
It is a reasonable assumption that the captain knows.
Okay.
But that's an assumption. So take that how you will.
Because he's also an intelligence officer.
He has not given you any indication that there's any he did not say anything that would give you a sense that he expects you to keep secrets from the captain.
I still don't trust him.
It doesn't mean he doesn't want you to keep secrets from the captain, but he's not sending you any signals. He's not thinking at you real hard. Don't say anything about it.
Then can I attempt?
And remember, you didn't tell him about the dead prophet. Exactly.
Yeah. Can I attempt telepathy with the XO? I know it's not something I'm great at. That's why I'm saying, can I attempt it? Something I can like roll for that. Okay.
Well, let me tell you what the role will be, and then you can decide if you want it.
Okay.
It is going to be a difficulty 3. I'm going to say insight command. No, control command. And the complication range is going to be 14. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 because of your unique circumstances.
And if you hit one of those, you broadcast a message to everyone.
And
in
it's
the room.
entirely, well, or really bad things happen. It's entirely possible in this system to succeed and trigger a complication. Because, like, what if your success range
Yeah.
is 18? Yeah, and then the crit range is 16. You can do both.
Yeah.
So,
What was the difficulty? You said 3?
3. Difficulty 3.
I mean, I'm
Complication
definitely
range
by
14 to
1.
20.
Yeah.
Which I
I'd
think
have
is
to buy one,
as big as it
but
can possibly get.
yeah.
I will say that you probably know that the complication could be harmful
Yeah. You
to
might like hurt his head.
him or
Yeah.
to you.
You could suffer a mental collapse, and then you wouldn't be a
Well,
doctor anymore. You'd be a potato.
I'm gonna say
if
that
you've ever seen the movie Scanners, which is not a good movie, but there's a lot of exploding heads in it.
Yikes.
Oh yeah.
I do have a
I'm-
minor boon from Lord Athos.
All right. Thanks for that, because I don't think I have it set up so I can see them. So, all right, I will say the complication range is 15. Which is my way of saying there's a very high risk of this going wrong.
Yeah.
Dr. Adair. And you probably know that.
yeah. I just feel like perhaps because of all the situations, the Adir would probably just want to give the information only to them, but I could be. Yeah, I feel like it's gonna happen. That's okay.
If we have a minor bane.
Minor bane or
Yeah, additional minor bane from Dr.
I'll pull the complication range down to 14 again.
I feel like that lady in Galaxy Quest who announces what the computer says.
I appreciate it. So we're back down to a complication range of 14 to 20.
If no one in the writer room stops a deer, I feel like I'm definitely gonna at least buy one and roll 3.
I mean, if you're not,
I don't
good
think
at
this is a great
telepathy,
idea.
Like, why would that be your first choice?
Because of the situations that
What is
Adir's
it that
got,
you want to transmit here?
everything. Like I would
You want
tell
to
him everything.
telepathically tell him everything
I think
that
what I
everyone
tell
in the
him-
room already knows except him.
I mean, I feel like I would tell him things that even y'all don't know because y'all don't know about the interactions I had with the other.
I mean,
thing.
it's a reasonable thing, and I think we
Yeah.
can say that well,
But
Dr.
the writer
Adair,
room doesn't want it.
Dr. Adair, for most of their life, this is absolutely, this would be muscle memory for Dr.
Yeah.
Adair. It's only relatively recently that the use of actual telepathy has been problematic. So it could be just a moment in the moment, oh, this is what you do, and not think about I could accidentally pop his brain.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
my thought process was like I just had a weird experience, and before it, I just felt like accepted by him. So I can just see a deer just being in the moment doing this. I'm not saying it has to be done.
Because
this is
it
like an
matters, we are in
instinct.
a new scene, so I'm pulling down whatever momentum.
This is an instinct.
Yeah,
This is
Yeah.
like
yeah, it's
I mean,
like
if it's
he
an
asked a question,
instinctual
and
thing,
you're
I
like,
can't argue against it. But
Yeah.
as your doctor, and also more importantly, as his doctor,
yeah.
I don't think this is a good idea.
I mean, I think
I have those thingies on my head. Does it help?
Yeah, I haven't
well,
taken those off, by the way, so it may not work.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh.
The difficulty is going to increase by 2.
Yeah, then no.
As long as
just putting it
you
in work.
leave those on.
Yeah.
just
No, I think
pull
I
him
would.
into a room later.
In that case, I think I would just try like instinctually and immediately like kind of like sense the barrier and like stop.
Okay.
Be like, oh right, I'm.
Okay. I think it makes sense for the
medically
character
inhibited.
to fall back on skills because
I agree.
it's hard to, if you've lost a limb,
Yeah, it's like phantom limb.
Yeah, you're still going to reach out and try to catch something, and even years later might like forget momentarily. So the good news is that you have the cortical suppressors on, so before you accidentally scramble his brain, you're like, oh wait, this is harder than it should be. Oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this because bad things could happen. Because the last many times I've used this particular part of my neocortex, it was to liquefy
Not
Gemma
really.
brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, oops. But
Yeah.
and those of you who are nearby and perceptive probably see a strange look cross Dr. Adair's face and just a moment of that kind of soft focus, and then kind of like never mind. Oops, sorry. Cool. Good. So, and that was all communicated through camera angles of like getting up close to Dr. Adair's face and like a little bit of a look at it, and then kind of like, oh crap. As
I love it.
an indicator on the cortical suppressors starts to beep red, like
If Dr. Prince sees that happening, she's like automatically just scanning because that's just what she does.
And then, but as soon as you pull out the little wandy thing and run it, everything goes back to normal. There was a momentary increase in synaptic activity in the doctor's neocortex, but it has returned to normal.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
I will just confirm with the captain that the room's secure for us to speak freely.
Yep.
About everything, and then at that point, I think we'll just summarize everything we did inside the underground area.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't think there's any reason for us to specifically exclude anything unless anyone else.
Yeah, I think it would cover everything except Dr. Adair's. Like something happened, but you weren't very specific about what, right?
I mean,
she's wearing the cortical suppressants.
Yeah.
I think we know that like there was some interaction, but I never explained like how deep it went. Just said it was kind of surface level.
Yeah, you didn't really have time.
Yeah. I saw your neurotransmitters go off the charts, and I was like, no.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yep. So, that is actually a good point. Do you take the explanation when it gets to the point where you're retelling that part of the events in that chamber? Do you go deeper into what your senses were?
At this point, I think Adair only trusts Valoros with some information.
Okay.
So it's waiting for an opportunity to speak to him alone.
Okay. Yep. So you would like to invoke a scene later where you have a conversation with Vosral.
Thank you.
So yeah, you provide the same. There was some sort of psionic event, and it caused my neocortex activity to be monitored outside healthy range or whatever, and it was addressed by the doctor. So and no harm, no foul. All right, you get to the part where you talk about the dead wormhole alien and all your prophets are dead, mentioning that you brought the artifact back with you, and Captain O'Keir does one of those things that I can't do, like whistles through his teeth. Yeah. And looks over at Vosral, and Ral kind of cocks his head and looks a bit surprised, and well, bringing it back was certainly the right choice. Yeah, we're gonna need to take a look at that for sure. Without anyone else finding out about its existence. Yeah. Then you get to the part about where you are recounting, and you can pull up scans for people to see. You are recounting the symbology and representations on the visual interface, and your interpretation that it was some sort of signal network. And now that you are aboard the ship, even though you're in a cargo bay, it's not even that you needed to be aboard the ship. You just now have the time to compare the symbology on the visual display with what you have for local star charts, and then compensate for 500,000 years of stellar drift, and so and very very rapidly confirm. It's actually maybe a bit more than maybe it's like 2 sectors and part of a third. It's actually a fairly large area. But you can tell that there are extant star systems located, or that were located at these focal points. They have since drifted somewhat, but you can identify that there are other potential areas of interest.
I don't have an idea of how big the Shackleton Expanse is. Is there our understanding that this map is within?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The
It's all
Shackleton
within. It's
Expanse?
all within the Expanse.
Okay.
The Expanse takes up kind of the northeast quadrant of the Beta Quadrant. It's massive.
Okay.
No one knows how far it expands in the Galactic East or in the Galactic North. It's theoretically possible it extends almost up to the Delta Quadrant.
Okay.
So it's a massive area of space. It's probably about the same. I don't have a map in front of me, but it's about the same volume as the portions of the Beta Quadrant that are occupied by the Romulan Star Empire and the Federation and the Klingons. Maybe a little bit smaller, but it's a lot of space.
Okay.
So Okir, does Okir know about our tricorders getting like data drained? Like
Dr.
he
Adair
seems
did.
relatively unfazed.
Yeah, Dr. Adair did report that. And he's, it's like, well, that's unexpected and unfortunate, but I mean, if any society advanced enough to make whatever that was is still around 500,000 years later, I mean, it's not good, but it's, I'm, y'all did well. You did what you're supposed to do. You mitigated the risk as much as you could. No complaints here.
He just throws up his hands and he's like, "Well, it's gone."
I mean,
shoot a glance at
What can he do?
he probably because he loves, as so many aliens apparently do, he loves Terran sayings. So he'll say, "Well, no use crying over spilt milk." I mean, not happy to happen, but there's nothing we can do about it now, and you folks did what you were supposed to do, so good enough.
Dr. Prin is internally very angry that this guy has a symbiote and she doesn't.
He's I would say intentionally on my part, but definitely he is easygoing. He has an easy confidence. He's not or he hasn't done anything that seems intimidating. He's very
He's the
self-assured
bad guy.
and but also unassuming, right? There's not an ounce of arrogance in him.
He's folksy.
He's folksy
He's charismatic and likable, and Dr. Brent hates him.
because he's so charismatic and likable.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he were like super snooty and like prickly, they'd be like, yeah, that's someone who has a superiority complex. It makes sense that they were chosen over me. But this guy just like he's just like a down home guy.
Yeah, he's not like a Zaphod Beeblebrox.
What's this guy got that I don't got?
Basically, yeah.
8 lifetimes of memories and expertise living in his gut.
Oh, dang.
Shots
How
fired.
is he more exceptional than me?
I know, right? Who knows? Maybe it's because they knew that when he got to be about 45, he'd turn into a silver fox, and they're like, this guy, yeah, this is the face of Trill right here.
He's actually on the Trill Quarterly magazine.
Exactly. He's literally the poster boy because he's so folksy and accessible and also like chiseled and stuff.
I mean, I assume that they just looked at both previous Daxes and then looked at me and they were like, we can't have another Brune lady
Right. It's
be a
like,
Trill.
this is too much. We want diversity of experience, right? It's like if we took Jadzia and Ezri and ran the photo meld, we'd get Dr. Pren. It's like that's 2 on the nose. Cool. Also, the Daxes, many of them have been problematic. So, anyway, you were back aboard. I understand the nature of the briefing. You are holding nothing back with the exception of a bit of information that Lieutenant Commander Adair is going to share with Vosral. So You leave all of the material that you recovered, including just the mundane samples, aboard the Wave Rider. You adjourn to why not? You adjourn to the conference room. You have your debriefing with the captain, and his directive to you is, because they don't want to risk anyone else becoming involved, you may need to, with one possible exception at your discretion. Your chief astrometrics officer, Traylon 414, is, you have the authority to involve them if needed, but the captain would appreciate being notified. And if you determine that you need Traylon's help, he wants to brief them. Traylon 414 is a hermit. They are a unigender species. They present slightly more as female than male, but they are descended from a predatory species. So they are humanoid, but they have long canines. They are capable of running at very high speed on all fours. They are somewhat smaller than human norm. And because they reproduce through effectively parthenogenesis, they descend in very strange kind of straight lines. And so Traylon 414 as an appellation just means that this individual is the 414th in their line to bear the name Traylon. It's a rare species in It's a rare species in general, but it's a rare species in Starfleet. The other thing that the doctors would know is that they have a quite short lifespan. I think Traylon is 14 years old.
19.
19. So they're approaching middle age. They mature slightly faster, but not exceptionally fast. But they typically live to be 30, 40 years old. So, a very interesting culture. You are not required, but because you do have an astrometrics expert on board, if you need that expert, and I don't think any of you have a focus in astrometrics, if you need any help, particularly when it comes to one, astrometrics would help with this, the first part. One, establishing or answering the question of how much and what data was broadcast. Two, identifying the current location of the data nodes that were represented in the visual display, under the assumption that they are similar facilities. So test that hypothesis that they're similar facilities and determine their location in real space. And three, figure out what's up with that dead wormhole alien. Those are your directives. As established to the extent that you can whether or not it is in fact a wormhole alien. And then, I mean, it's a massive opportunity to explore the physical remains of one, but figure out that. And at this point, I think Dr. Pren will say, and four, we're all going to get very, very deep scans to figure out if direct exposure to Verteron particles has done anything weird to, like, I don't know, our genetic makeup. And the captain will, I agree, doctor. Why don't we see to that one first? It should be quick, hopefully. Yeah. All right. Well, if you need additional resources, let me know. We are going to continue. I'm gonna set the rest of the crew on a typical planetary survey mission. Frankly, between you and me, to keep them occupied, but this does look like a really fantastic potential colonization site. So we're going to do what we do as far as the rest of the crew is concerned. This is a completely normal planetary survey mission. Might even arrange some shore leave for folks who have been on rotation a couple of times on a very different continent from the ones you guys were on, obviously. But we're going to just kind of do the normal Starfleet thing while you guys figure out what's actually going on. But I do expect the outcome to be a map to the other locations. I will communicate with Starfleet Command and understand if they want us to take the next step in traveling to one of these locations. I think we're better positioned than most. We're not super fast. The Bellerophon, however, is in the Expanse. The Bellerophon is a Intrepid class, so it is roughly equal to the Pioneer in terms of sensor and computing abilities. Maybe slightly better, but it is significantly faster. So it'll be up to Starfleet to decide what they want to happen next, but we're going to be here for several days, so you have time to figure out what's going on. Let me know what you need. You're all excused from bridge duty during that period.
How long were we on the planet?
Oh, 5
Roughly.
hours.
Okay.
5 hours max.
I'm
Most
just-
of that
I-
was trudging through subterranean passageways, slowly, carefully taking scans.
Both I, the player, and my character are going to wait to see if anyone has anything else to say.
Yeah,
And then he's going to say, "Who wants lunch?" and storm out of the room and go back to the captain's mess. Not the captain's mess. The crew mess
Yep.
to the replicator that I rebuilt specifically.
Yes.
On your way out, Dr. Pren shouts after you, "Hold it! I ordered you to sickbay."
Oh, come on, doctor. Your scans can wait until I've had a chance to celebrate our safe return or something.
Yeah, maybe
Not
you
if
want her to
the
guess what you
internal
ate.
tandem duplications of your DNA are slowly extending due to exposure to verteron particles. Sickbay.
That's a doctor's order.
Can I grab a snack? And then can I grab an apple and meet you in sickbay?
An apple.
Cool.
I will grab an apple and I will show up to sickbay and start to take my clothes off.
Perfect.
Because I'm under the impression that that's how in-depth this scan needs
Yes.
to be.
So
So I'm chewing on an apple and I start to disrobe.
yes.
And Dr.
So-
Trent is like,
No,
So hold on.
unnecessary.
Hold on. Scene order. Scene order. We see Ravask. All right, lunchtime. And then out in the hallway with the doors open, we see Dr. Pren saying nope and exerting the doctor's order. And that exchange happens. Everyone else kind of filters out. Dr. Adair stays behind to have a quiet word with Commander Vosral. Lieutenant Commander, don't tell me that your report wasn't thorough.
Well, we just wanted to keep a couple things off the air.
Mm. Yes, I commend you for not mentioning. Good thinking not to mention the artifact. I mean,
About the
you never know
artifact.
who's listening, and we're always recording, so quick thinking, I like it.
Thank you. And actually about the artifact. And I go into detail about my experience.
Okay. And he will simply say, "I'm sorry that happened to you. If indeed this is, or was, a wormhole alien, I mean, who knows? I guess all bets are off. Do exercise caution, though.
And I oh sorry.
It might be wise if you think you can do so without arousing suspicion. It might be wise to maintain cortical suppressors when you're in the artifact's proximity, just in case."
Okay. And Nadir accepts that, but they also she also explains that it still feels, like it's active and that like just goes into more detail about like more it can be looked into more or, follow those orders of just ignoring it.
For now, let's not go down that road unless we have to.
Okay.
But
Yes.
we may have to, depending upon what traditional scientific methods can uncover. But
I'll wait for your signal.
yeah, but if we're going to explore, I don't know, trying to contact the mind of a long dead transdimensional being, we're going to want to do that in a very thoughtful and controlled fashion. So no poking around. That's not necessary.
Of course.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you. It would have been fine if you told the captain. He's very easy to do. He's very easy to work with.
It
But
was the others I was concerned with.
yeah, I appreciate your caution. Good instincts. Good instincts.
Thank you. And
I know you
I
haven't.
will-
I know you haven't forgotten my offer.
well, a deer definitely hasn't. Kelly's just thinking. You just mean afterwards, more information, doing more things, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah. The
Yes.
tacit or implicit offer that Starfleet Intelligence is looking for a few good people.
Yeah.
And you have caught Phosphoral's eye.
I'll just say that I'm still thinking on it, but of course I haven't forgotten.
Well, keep up the exceptional performance.
And then I silently leave.
Excellent. Then we cut to.
I've changed it a little bit.
Okay.
Just
It's
the
an
motivations.
orange, not an apple.
I'm getting Lieutenant Varosk. I don't know why I always. Lieutenant Ravosk knows that he doesn't need to disrobe, but is doing it out of malicious compliance.
Yes. Perfect.
That's the only change.
So Ravosk actually goes and grabs an apple very, very quickly and like sprints to Maine Medical just so you can be there before Dr. Prin. So the camera follows Dr. Prin moving at a decent clip because you probably also want to be there waiting and disapprovingly because Ravosk gave you a little bit of lip or challenged your authority for a moment. So you're anticipating, setting yourself up at your desk and you're kind of, I'm going to say in your head rehearsing, and we maybe hear Dr. Prin muttering a little bit like, Lieutenant, the doctor's orders are not something that you argue with. Like you're going through it. Like how do you say it and exert authority without seeming, a little bit too much extra or whatever. And then you're rehearsing this as the shh, and you step into main sick bay, and there is Lieutenant Ravosk and all of his, sculptural. Because he lifts, bro, like a lot. Just Starkers. Just like standing nonchalantly eating an apple with very flattering kind of lighting, and there's it's lighting from an angle so that from belly button down is just miraculously in shadow, so we don't have to worry about the sensors. But but then there's a scene from behind, and we can see the backside. It's like implying that he's stark naked.
Of course. Dr. Pren is just going to be like, is there a reason why you're naked? I mean, I can do the exam either way, but...
I haven't thought this far ahead. I didn't think I'd get this far.
Yeah.
She's a medical doctor. She's used to naked people.
Yeah. You're waiting for you get a little satisfaction from Dr. Pren just being surprised because it's not what one expects when one walks into their office is a naked Afrosian just standing there in the middle of medbay
Eating an apple.
with an apple. But it's not very satisfying because it's very obvious that her surprise is it's more that you're there first.
Right.
And then the rest of it's just like super clinical.
Yeah.
like
please have a seat on the table.
Like maybe you thought that she would blush or something, but you don't get any of that. It's just like oh well, that's unnecessary. Why don't you have a seat?
Put your clothes back on.
And it's also chilly in here. You're starting to think like, oh, maybe this wasn't exactly.
I have regrets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So pops you in one of the diagnostic beds with the clamshells that close over like from belly button to to
A
clavicle.
mid-thigh.
Yeah. So your bits you're free balling. And so yes, you spend the next 15 minutes, and there's probably some nurses that come in and out, but you're committed.
When I knock on the door a few minutes later, I'm like, oh, I'm here for the scan. Did we need to take off? I didn't think that was necessary with the scanners to get undressed.
Would I do it again? No. But am I committed to it now that I've started it? Yes.
Yes. So
It's not necessary, Lieutenant
Okay.
Commander Ellis.
right.
I'll just lie down on this one over here.
I'll just
Taking
like,
one
oh,
away from.
I'll just take a magazine and wait, I guess. And just, so comedic relief.
I'll skip out of my reports, I guess, while we're waiting.
Yes, comedic relief scene as Dr. Adair and Lieutenant Vaughn also filter in momentarily as you all like have the same reaction of, why is Arco naked on a bed? and Dr. Print has to respond 3 different times. Disrobing is not required for this particular procedure. Go ahead and have a seat and wait.
The sensors are more than capable of reading through clothing.
Reading through polyester. But thanks. Just in case. So yeah, it's a lovely moment of bonding. Yes, I would like you, however, to run a difficulty 3 scan. However, you are being assisted by the ship's sensors medicine. I think that's right. So someone needs to roll for the Pioneer.
And there's no way I can contest this just to be stubborn, right?
No.
There's no mechanic.
I can roll for the Pioneer.
Surprise, the apple was...
computers medicine. Sensors, no, sensors medicine. It's fine. Yeah.
Just 2? Right?
Difficulty 2, and so Dr. Pren, you are rolling control medicine.
Okay.
And the ship is assisting with sensors medicine. So someone is going to roll a single D20 for the Pioneer. Your target is 13, and your crit range is 1 and 2. Because the ship always acts as if it has an appropriate focus.
James, were you going to roll? I saw you volunteered.
I rolled, and I got a 2. Well, the Pioneer got a 2.
Oh, lovely. So that's a crit from the Pioneer. So as long as Dr. Pren got 1 success.
So I got 1 failure, but I also crit.
So 4 success. So that earns you 2 momentum back. I'm going to say this is a separate scene, so I'll just add 1. Theoretically, every scene is. Yeah. Because we did have the intervening. All right. So you go through tissue, cellular, microcellular, genetic, molecular scans. And you aren't finding anything. He's in excellent health. His cortisol levels are a little bit high. The blood flow to his capillaries, some of his capillaries are a little bit dilated, particularly
Naples a little cold,
around the face. Right, exactly.
know.
So there are some, but everything is within normal parameters. When you run a subspace scan, there is a very, very small subspace variance that you detect.
Okay. Can I look a little bit closer at that?
Yes.
Do I need to roll anything for that, or
No? This is
just
what
because I'm
these are the
speeding?
things that you are finding out for free.
Okay.
And at some point, I will tell you need to spend momentum to learn more. So
Okay.
I like to play it that you can just, you can ask clarifying questions. I'm not going to say we'll spend a momentum for every clarifying question, but at some point I may say to figure that out, you're really going to have to spend momentum. But yeah, you can certainly, it's natural that you would say, oh, I'm going to hone in on this. So what was it you were curious about?
So, I mean, there's a number of different conditions which can cause like interference on a subspace level, right? For instance, there was that time that Worf had his like cellular RNA vibrating at a different frequency than the rest of the galaxy, which was fascinating. And Dr. Crusher wrote it up so well. So I'm just curious if it like the subspace frequency that it's on matches anything that I've read about in any medical journal.
Well, you do have access. You do have access to ship's computers.
Mhm.
Um,
So I'll cross-reference it.
you cross-reference, yes. What you get is that it is most similar to some biological effects associated with certain members of the USS Enterprise being transported to a tertiary subspace manifold. They were effectively, and I would say you have to input your security clearance to be able to get this information because it's not in the library, but it is something that you would have access to. Particularly Dr. Crusher's logs of the various some of the effects were actually fatal to crew members. They lost a few crew members in this, but members of the crew reported sleep disturbance, and upon scanning them, found very expertly healed, but clear signs that there had been samples taken of medical manipulation.
That's what the crab people reminded me of.
Yes.
The crab people made me think of literally that terrifying episode, and it haunts me, and I hate it.
Well, interestingly enough, it was later determined that an unknown species, a selenogen-based species, had been opening a rift from a tertiary subspace manifold and effectively abducting members of the Enterprise for experimentation.
Do I have a separate office
Yeah.
where I am right now?
Or you have your office that is connected to sickbay.
Does it have a door that closes and
Yeah.
is potentially soundproof?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to go in there and hail the captain and ask him to take it in his like ready room.
Already there, Doc. What's up?
I have some potentially bad news, Captain.
Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good.
So I detected some abnormalities in our crew's subspace like frequencies compared to the rest of the crew. And they match very well with selenogen based life forms that were encountered by the Enterprise.
Oh,
the
the
ones that
whole
were taking
the whole
medical.
crab people abducting people, pulling them down to a tertiary subspace manifold and like cutting off their arms and reattach them, stuff like that. Yeah, I read that report. That thing gave me nightmares for weeks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Captain.
But like you guys did, so when you say you're detecting similarities, are you saying that the subspace frequency is similar? Not that you guys were abducted by crab people and experimented on, right?
Correct, sir.
Oh,
There's no evidence of current experimentation.
that's good.
However,
I mean, next thing
could
Q's going to
be-
show up. I really do not need that. Let Jean-Luc deal with all that stuff. I'm already having to do with stuff that Cisco should be dealing with the whole, thing.
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks. Keep me informed. Do you think it was related to the exposure to the Verteron particles?
Yes, sir. That's, as far as I can tell, the only thing that these 5 crew members have been exposed to that the rest of the crew has.
And I'm looking at those mosaics that you guys photograph. They look kind of crabby.
Yes, sir. Very crabby.
Question for you, Doctor, and potentially for Dr. Ellis and Dr. Adair. So these people, half a million years ago, whenever, were clearly living in normal space.
Presumably, sir.
Yeah. So see if you can figure out. I'm going to add a request, not an order, just a request. But see if you can think of any reason why a species native to normal space would wind up living in a subspace manifold.
I'll pass it along, sir.
And those were selenogen-based organisms. Yeah, I'm getting a feeling, and he has a science background. You know this, but astrophysics. Outside of some sort of interaction with one of the local disruptions, I mean, who knows? All kinds of weird stuff's likely to happen here in the Expanse every day, and multiply that by however many days are in half a million years. All kinds of stuff could have happened, but it looks like they engaged in some sort of warfare. I wonder if somehow the survivors were forced to retreat to subspace.
That could well be. It might explain also the message that we got when we opened the...
Yeah. I get a feeling something really, really bad happened a while ago here. And if it's related to some sort of technology or weapon, that's something we probably don't want to fall into. Well, I was going to say Romulan hands, but really anybody's hands. I don't want that kind of stuff to fall into our hands.
Yes, sir.
Problematic.
Very dangerous.
I was going to tell you about something kind of like that, then I realized that I probably have to kill you because it's super classified. I'm just saying that we've done some stuff. Federation, experimentation. Just trying to push the boundaries of science and do nice things, and then it turns out it's like, oh wow, the thing that we thought was going to be awesome and good for everybody is also kind of a doomsday weapon. You almost had a war over that one, if I recall correctly. So yeah.
Dr. Prin giggles nervously.
Yeah. Dr. Prin does not know about the Genesis device.
No.
But the player probably knows that he's referencing the Genesis device.
Yes.
So yeah, it's to this day just keeps getting weirder.
Yes, sir. It certainly does.
Well, I'm use your best judgment, but probably want to get I probably want to get everybody involved, because if we're talking about a weapon, we're talking about technology, which is our chief. Talking about tactics, which is our pilot. Talking about culture, and I mean, I think you're probably going to want to bring the whole team in on this one.
Yes, sir.
But thanks for calling
Right
me
away,
first.
sir.
And please do check and make sure they don't have any, like, little gills coming out the back of their necks, or
Already checked, sir.
Okay.
Nothing strange except for the subspace signal.
I don't want to tell you you're a business doctor. I'm saying check for anything extra or anything missing. That'll help me sleep tonight.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
I'll let our XO know. I'm sure he'll find this fascinating. All right, thanks, Doc.
Right. Before he hangs up, he hears me like beckoning to the others and telling Ravosk, for God's sakes, put your uniform back on.
Right. You are going to print out, but then you catch, it's like, put your pants on, Ravosk. Oh, sorry, print out. Canon. It happened. Fantastic. So, I think let's do one kind of extended montage. we could end here, but I think a better ending point would be to get you a little bit further along and figure out a bit more about what's happening. So we see an extended montage as first of all, your routines are disrupted. Whatever, Ravosk probably knows members of the crew better than most of you. Certainly you, Dr. Prena, haven't really had a chance to make friends. So maybe the disruption is less impactful to you. But everyone else kind of, it's not upsetting, but it's off-putting because your normal rotation, your normal kind of shift-based rotation of alpha shift is disrupted entirely. You're basically now living in a set of laboratories. And just, although you're perfectly capable of going and interacting with everyone else, you're all very aware that you know things that no one else in the crew is supposed to know. So that probably makes it difficult to just have, well, difficult for some of you to just have casual conversation, because some of you are probably like I don't want to give away on my face. I don't want to be too weird, which is then a little bit weird, right? So we probably see a few flashes of people saying, "Oh, hey, Dr. Ellis," and Dr. Ellis saying, "Yes, hello," being a little sus, right? And trying not to be sus. But it's a lot of you all in laboratories and pulling in specialized equipment and accessing compartmentalized elements of the computer system to try to understand how much data was lost, was read and then transmitted. I would say nothing so far requires you to call in your astrometrics officer. It's very easy to confirm that 7 of the 8 locations correspond perfectly with planetary systems. The 8th is currently a black hole. Yes.
We have a major boon courtesy of Rach.
Rachie, lovely. Thank you. Good to see you. Glad you're here. And
Wolf also major booned while I was naked.
oh, major boon while you were naked. What, you tell me.
It wasn't that cold.
I was gonna say that. That's more of a minor boon. Nothing personal, Cat Dad.
I don't know.
Let's see. I'll think about that.
How do you boon that?
Right. Well,
We all fell for
I
you.
scored a date with one of the nurses.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes.
Because of my God.
Yes. I would say a yes. I love that as a major boon. One of the nurses that you thought was super cute, but that has always kind of seen you as a grease monkey, and just like, well, whatever, and just like didn't give you much of the time of day. Was not expecting your like 8-pack abs. And then in one of these trips to the commissary to get food for everyone, looking all haggard, kind of sidles up next to you. So I hear you like racquetball. I've been trying to learn. Maybe one day you can teach me.
Dr. Pran is seriously side-eyeing her nurse.
Yeah, you already have their digits. I mean, so it's fine. But yes, you have a potential. You have made progress on a romantic conquest on board as a result of your decision to be Starkers in Medbay. So that's a major boon. The major boon for Dr. Pren is that you were able to the black hole, although a navigation hazard on its own, it is in an area that is where the kind of native spatial phenomena that serve as navigational hazards and and confuse sensors here is relatively sparse. Perhaps just the extreme forces of the black hole itself have suppressed other phenomena in the area. So there is a relatively good probe scan of this black hole. there is a planetary body orbiting the black hole, and there is another object orbiting the black hole. Way too small to be a planetary body.
Yep.
It has been dismissed as a sensor anomaly, but this second, much smaller body is of planetary mass. It is, however, very small.
It's cold in space.
Right. Poor Rivas is never going to live that one down, but it's fine. It's fine. And now we all need to think about what a Frosian anatomy looks like. But anyway, it's fine. It is, so with the major boon, there is if you accept the sensor readings at face value and don't discount them as an error, it would appear that there is a artificial satellite orbiting the black hole. They're probably close enough that there probably are some slight relativistic effects, but not close enough to cause, not close enough such as to make it inaccessible. But it is likely made of some sort of incredibly dense material, as it would need to be to resist the gravitational shearing.
Okay.
The planetary body is likely left over, or perhaps was captured by the black hole. And I would say the scans of the surrounding space indicate that this is a relatively recently formed black hole.
Okay.
Which you would not have known because whoever did the sensor analysis basically just marked that off as unreliable. So the major boon is that you now know that the 8th location, although that is the location that corresponds with the failure of the transmission, that there is potentially something of interest there as well.
Okay.
So we have that scene playing up star charts, enhancing the imagery from the sensor.
Enhance?
Yes. Computer enhance. Computer, log these parameters and calculate the likelihood that this is a sensor echo. The computer says, the likelihood of a sensor echo is 14.7% under the new parameter. So you have a high confidence that there are in fact 2 potential bodies of interest in orbit around this black hole. One of which is clearly artificial and likely of advanced technological origin. The other are all, as far as you can tell, just bog standard planetary systems without much, with really only long range data about them. You detect nothing in any active or historical sensor data to indicate the presence of a wormhole where it was represented in the graphical display in the facility. But then again, that's kind of what you would expect, because finding the Bajoran wormhole was secret for a very, very long time for a reason. They're not easy to detect, even in space that isn't full of gravimetric and temporal distortions. So the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So who knows? What other lines of inquiry? Other questions? Yes.
Can I use my linguistics abilities to try to understand any of the language that was down there?
Yes. Assisted by the computer, I would like you to make a difficulty 3 linguistics roll.
Can I take 2 extra dice?
Yes, you certainly may. Unless anyone objects.
Go for it.
Who's gonna roll for the ship?
I have not historically rolled well.
This is going to be a computer science roll, so your target number is 15, whoever's rolling, and your crit range is 1 to 5. This is this is the thing that the Pioneer, this and sensing things are the things that the Pioneer
Sensing
does
thing.
well.
And what do I roll?
You are going to roll reason science.
You said reason?
Yeah, reason
Okay.
science with you, and your focus in linguistics is going to count.
What does a focus do? I'm sorry.
It raises your crit range from 1 to whatever the value of your science discipline is.
Oh, understood. Okay.
So I think in your case, a 4 or a 5.
So if you didn't have a focus, it would just always be a 1. It wouldn't go
One
to
is always
that.
a crit, 20 a critical
Yeah.
success, which counts for 2.
Yeah.
20 is always a complication, but there are mechanisms. Focus increases your crit range, and threat, either inherent or me spending threat points, can increase the complication range.
Okay.
Can I roll for the ship,
You certainly
guys?
Go for it.
You got a 7.
Cool. That's one success.
I got 1, 2, 3. 3 successes.
All right. So you get one of those momentum back. And this is all kind of one extended scene, so I'm not going to deduct it every 5 seconds. Yes, you are able to, querying the computer's library of modern and ancient Bajoran texts, accurate translations, and then using the universal translator, you are able to translate basically everything.
Oh, wow.
So everything that was graphically represented.
Yeah. Sure.
The graphical representations they're proper nouns. So, I mean, you can make up a pronunciation if you would like. It's kind of immaterial. But they are clearly the names of planets or planetary systems. So the labels on the individual items are proper names for those locations. The translation of the label for the stylized swirl in the middle, you could translate it a couple of ways, but temple is a good translation.
Okay.
So like a celestial temple,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Temple in
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
The secondary, it's a lower confidence translation, but a secondary meaning in this language could be origin point. Or the place from which all things emerge and to which all things return is probably a more precise. It is a more precise translation, but there are diacritical markers that suggest an element of holiness as well.
Okay.
So if you translate it into Terran, temple is probably good.
Okay.
Or heaven.
Okay.
The second wave, when Lieutenant Ravosk was able to pull up more information on the display, it was more values than language. So system status. Effectively, the one that was flashing purple, more or less the language was system error. The others that had lit up, the little ant trail of icons, were basically like sleep mode, I think is the best translation. But they responded to the ping. So the nearest node and the one past that pinged back, basically functional but sleep mode. Minimal power.
Okay.
And then there wasn't time really for any of the others to have been contacted.
And is there anything from the underground area? Did that have any writing that I could gain from our images that we took from there?
Yes. it's very the symbology on the plinth where this canister was is very poetic, and you just don't have the cultural reference
Sure.
to really know for sure if it's an accurate translation.
When the walls fell.
Well, not quite that obscure,
Okay.
but I think the closest approximation you can come to is, I think the literal translation is something about um, the wave that washes away the sand to reveal the pearl.
Hmm.
But as you think about what that might mean, and assuming that the species had an aquatic origin, um, prophet of revelation. But then there's the pearl part, like it's being equated to a pearl. So one might say orb of revelation.
Hmm.
But revelation isn't quite right. Maybe it's revealing or uncovering.
Hmm.
Orb of truth.
It doesn't have truth.
Okay.
It's less about the linguistic and cultural cues that you can pick up on. It's less about differentiation between truth and falsehood in a binary. It's more
Okay.
about taking that which is concealed and making it apparent.
For me, it's enough to know it's an orb of the prophets.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen it.
I don't need to know which one. Just
Well, and lots of them are lost.
And
And one of
arguably,
them's dead.
but
Uh-huh.
arguably, like Writer's Room, the orbs that are from Bajor appeared within the last like 12,000 or 16,000 years. This area is over 30,000 years old. This orb is like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years old.
Yeah.
So it's not one of the orbs from Bajor, but it might be related to them.
Or it might be one that they know of because it was like, written about.
It would not have been written about 500,000 years ago.
No, but like maybe one of their like emissaries or somebody.
It is a quick scan of the computer. And there are lost writings that are still being discovered. But it's a quick scan of the Bajoran historiological database, and again, with potential for ambiguity in the translation, you don't find any clear indicators that this is referencing one of the known identified orbs.
Hmm.
But again, it could just be a translation issue.
I mean, I feel like at least the xenoanthropologists would have interest in the wormhole aliens, especially with the relationship with Bajor. And Adir would know that like the orbs came from the wormholes, and that this orb likely came from whatever was above this planet.
Yeah.
Not
Or
from any.
at the center of this ring of
Yeah.
locations.
And
And
not from the
there was that depiction
object.
on the wall of some object coming out of the stylized swirl and being heralded by the residents of this planet. So, anything else that you wish to explore?
what were our directives again?
So you need to figure out the location of to basically match up the information that you have with actual locations, which you have done, and even more successfully because of the major boon. You found that the 8th location is real and not destroyed. Otherwise, you would have thought it would have been sucked into a wormhole. Let's see. You need to figure out what the dead orb is, which you haven't really done. Although doing this research with the linguistic database and the translation certainly helps to clarify your thinking. Let me think. What was the other thing?
We had 4 objectives.
Well, the fourth one was you checking everyone out for
Scan them.
Yeah.
The prophet was the one that you mentioned third.
Yeah. The map. Oh, the
The
data.
map.
Figuring
The
out
data.
how much and which data was captured by
Okay.
the alien computer system and
'Cause-
transmitted.
The captain didn't seem to super care about that, so I wasn't sure if it was.
I mean, it was a directive. It
Yeah, it was
probably
one of
was
the
more like
mentions.
just it's protocol to figure it out if there's been a data leak.
Then-
It's immaterial. It just takes some time, and it's always going to be an approximation because you don't have a direct measure. But yes, you determine
Oh.
that the full human Vulcan Klingon physiology, genome, all of like a huge chunk of the medical database, along with kind of just databases of spatial phenomena, all of the sort of data that you would have. The good news is a lot of the data that you have preloaded onto your tricorders is related to planetary survey. So there's a lot of geological information, et cetera, that you determine. It's like, well, anyone can have that. If they have decent sensors, this is not going to be new information for them. Information about the detection and identification of dilithium was captured. And that's probably something that you're going to flag, because if that got in the hands of a non-warp capable society, and they were able to decode it, they might then be able to scan for and acquire dilithium ahead of the schedule that their normal evolution as a society would prescribe.
As a follow-up to that, since these other relays or whatever you want to call them were like asleep, are we able to tell where the data was transmitted? Like, was it transmitted along that chain? Was it transmitted elsewhere?
I would say that based on the combination of the direct measurement of from you, as well as the Pioneer sensors, as well as the intel from the visual screen, you suspect that a healthy portion of that data was transmitted to the second site, and that some unknown amount of that was probably chained on to the third.
Okay.
You don't know about the one that didn't
Anything
ping
after that.
back. It could have received everything, but just not been able to respond back. But it's certainly the same amount of the full data was transmitted, or almost the full data was transmitted to that site that is now represented by the black hole. So yes, I will say that your individual scans down to the molecular level were also transmitted,
Okay.
along with your records. Any of the records that Dr. Pren would have had on there. So maybe not your grades, but anything that would be relevant to a physician about you, including current active scans down to the genetic level, were transmitted. Which is fine.
What an exciting thing to specifically point out.
Is it fine? Dr. Prin is really tense about
We're
that.
going to use it to dissect us.
I mean,
They are.
you should be super tense
Weird
about
crab
it.
people.
Well, maybe they won't have to dissect you because they already have all the information they need because you've given it to them.
Listen, okay. They might experiment on us more.
It might be much more effective. They might not accidentally turn your blood into some sort of self-hardening polymer like they did to that one guy.
With polymer.
Let's not and say we didn't. How about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, sleep well. Don't let the subspace crabs bite.
I have concerns.
You're all sleeping in a containment field in these laboratories, a level 4 containment field.
Yeah.
You get pinged by your engineering crew. It's like, I'm detecting a really abnormal power draw into laboratory 4. What's going on? What are you guys doing in there? It's like,
We
don't worry,
can't talk about
it's
it.
just containment
Mind your
fields.
business.
Containment fields. What are you trying to do? Yeah. You set up multi-phasic shielding around yourselves just in case. I mean, you can. It's all good. So I think where we will end is in the we have this montage of you satisfying your immediate directives, with the exception of the big one, which is what up with that dead orb. You're probably leaving that one for last because it's
Yeah.
creepy and weird.
I have to do an autopsy on a weird worm.
On a weird, or I mean, no one knows if
Orb
the are the
thing.
wormhole aliens the orbs? Are the orbs like mechanical devices? I think most people thought they were some sort of manufactured or otherwise manifested extension, like a device or tool. But this one clearly has a very strong kind of emotional imprint that has lasted for 500,000 years, so maybe not. Who knows? But so yes, we will pick up next time with trying to figure out what's up with the orb, as well as I will say that you have reported your findings to the captain. And the captain says that the Bellerophon is going to be tasked with investigating some of, or at least one of, the other sites, but that the Pioneer is being tasked with investigating one of the 2 closest sites. So, and he's looking for, since you guys have been exploring this and you are now the most knowledgeable, he's looking for your recommendation as to whether to go to the relatively nearby planetary system or to the black hole with the mysterious ultra dense artifact orbiting it.
Okay, I want to do something before we leave orbit, though, whether
Yes.
it's this time or next time.
Yes.
But I just want to make sure that we have enough info from the scans of the equipment that we could power one of these devices intentionally if we wanted to.
Yes.
So, like, if we get to the next site and we want to turn it on, do we know how to power it without
Yes.
Pausing it
without it
overload.
cutting out on us? I don't care if it like runs away again, but want to have the time we need to study it. So
Yes, you know enough, and you can review your sensor logs, and I mean you kind of have to do it to enable you to write your reports anyway. But you know enough now to know that although it won't be an automatic success, that the difficulty of accessing a similar system, should you come across one, both powering it up and actually getting access to it, will be significantly less. There's always a chance of failure, and there's always a chance of mishap or complication, but it is within it. You won't be operating blind next time, and you know the equipment to bring with you to make it significantly easier. Yes. So, any final scenes that anyone wants to call?
Ellis has to requisition a new phaser.
Yes. Yes, you do.
So
Go to the quartermaster. Lost my phaser again. Yeah, the quartermaster.
What are you gonna do?
The quartermaster is a Tellarite, just like super grumpy.
Yeah.
But he's a space orc. But a space orc with a heart of gold. It's like, did you leave it? Did you leave it at the range again? Did you look under your bed?
No, this time I had to give it to Lieutenant Ravask, and he disassembled it to a different device.
And he didn't bring it back and reassemble it. He just expects me.
No, it's part of that.
He expects me to hand out Type 2 phasers like candy. Of course he does.
I would like Commander Ellis to be able to return the jerry-rigged power source now and just kind of put it on the table.
Yeah, and then
it kind of looks like it was a phaser. But
yeah, and he takes a look at it and just goes, "Never mind." Tosses it in a recycling bin and issues you a fresh one. Not worth it.
Thanks.
Yes. So a bit of comic relief as you get your phaser back.
Yeah.
I like that Ravask has just been bussed this entire. We've all thrown him under the bus.
Yes.
It's fine. I'm more than happy to be the comic relief.
Good.
Yes, Dr. Adair.
Can I just walk by whatever door the orb is behind and see if I resist it? Just a scene. Can we call a scene to see if?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say you wait until other folks aren't around. Do you lower the containment field, or are you simply going to study it?
I think I would lower it, but not like intentionally interact with it. Just wanting to kind of have a moment with it.
Yes.
If that makes any sense. Okay.
And I will say you don't completely lower the field. You simply remove the portion that is designed specifically to block any psionic transmission.
Yeah.
And then you listen, and it's, you don't hear anything, but you do feel that very faint echo of despair and rage and burn it all down. And almost like betrayal. It's just an echo, but now that it's quiet, it's not active, it's not aggressively pushing itself on you, and there's no one else really around to interfere. You have a moment when you can kind of meditate and try to center on this emotion. And if you had to give it a name, this combination of despair and rage, it's betrayal.
And I put the barrier back up, and I just.
But yeah, it doesn't appear. It certainly doesn't take the opportunity to try to repeat the
Attach.
performance. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's quiescent. There's just a psionic vibration that you're able to pick up.
I guess the only question would be, can I feel like I can confirm that betrayal is connected to the statement we heard about prophets being dead, or do I not have that confirmation of connection?
It would be supposition at this point.
Okay.
Because this thing does appear to be dead. It's dead, but haunted.
Okay.
I like that description.
It's decomposing.
It's haunted.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I would say that's a very. I mean, we don't think ghosts exist, but it is a corpse. There's no animating spirit or intellect or emotion behind it, but it just feels haunted, and it feels haunted by betrayal.
It's
emotion
an
of
echo.
betrayal. Yeah. An echo of an experience that was powerful enough that its echo persists 500,000 years later.
What's the decay rate?
Exactly.
An extreme level of betrayal.
Yeah.
What's the half-life of hate?
Yeah, the half-life of hatred. The half-life of hatred is actually.
The title of the episode?
I'm gonna say that. The half-life. Oh, I like that. The half-life of hatred. Or the half-life of betrayal. The half-life of betrayal is actually relatively short, which just gives you a sense of the scale.
Yeah. That's really.
That's what I was thinking.
Really
how
lot
much
of betrayal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is not unknown. There are in fact species who natively have psychometry as a psionic ability. The ability to read kind of the impression in physical objects of strong emotions. And it is known that those things are transient. And so, like for one of those, for an item to hold an emotional signature a year later indicates really extraordinarily extreme emotion. And this is holding it 500,000 years later. Of course, it's not an ordinary item. It's some sort of weird transdimensional matrix. So who knows? But yes, I would say you are what is impressed upon you is that this very quiet echo is still present, speaking betrayal from at least 500,000 years in the past.
Yeah.
Slightly creepy.
Yeah.
Any other scenes?
I think you asked us to help the captain to pick between the two. I don't think we said, but I think my vote is black hole.
For my prep, I am curious to see which way you steer the captain.
Which are the two that are closest to us? Said.
One is a planetary. One is a. You don't have great data, but you know its location. It is a planetary system. Appears normal to the galactic east southeast of you,
Uh-huh.
and one is the black hole and orbiting anomaly that is northwest of you.
It was one of those sites, the one that got our data.
You know that the planetary system received it because it was capable of responding back. You
Yeah.
don't know if the black hole received it because the indicators on the display was that it wasn't able to, or there was no confirmation signal received.
Yeah.
But that might be because, well, that might be for a variety of reasons.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the console has been destroyed. That's the super heavy object that's floating in
You
space.
100% would have thought that it was a planetary body that was destroyed when the sun went supernova and collapsed into a black hole, except there is some sort of very advanced technological or advanced in material science at least artifact or installation orbiting the black hole.
Let's go to the Death Star.
Yeah, my thoughts are the only thing to be gained by going to the planet is we can potentially purge that data, or we can learn more in order to prepare ourselves for the black hole.
So I
it
think
depends on how badly we want to do those things.
And
versus-
we have one session of the planned run left.
Right.
So we're gonna wrap up in whatever location you guys pick.
So I vote.
I mean, I know
Death
the
Star.
one that I want, but it's up to you guys.
Do you want the black hole? It's slightly more interesting.
come
I
on.
think
How about we
Alex would
just-
probably be pushing for the planetary system because he does.
Can we just
like
take a
creating
vote?
Planets.
Is the black hole on the?
This is a writer's room conversation. So
Is the planet on the way to the black hole?
no, opposite
Because
direction.
I have a solution.
Opposite
All
direction.
right, I still have a solution, but
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
One's this way and one's this way. You and you can only go to one of them. I mean, in the fiction you can go to multiple of them, but Starfleet Command has said we need you to visit one of the two closest locations since your ship is slower. The Bellerophon is going to check out a different one that's further away because it can get there much faster. So, and you don't know which one. Your choice is reflective of which story. Let's look at it through the lens of which do you think will be more interesting for chat. Maybe we should ask chat to vote.
Death Star.
It's the black hole that's more interesting.
So
Definitely.
Bravoska is going to write a virus and load it onto a probe, and we're going to shoot it at the planet to purge our data from there, and then we can go on the blade of the black hole without worrying about it.
So Bravoska is going to declare war on.
No, we're just purging our own, and it's a probe. It's not a torpedo.
You're just going to detonate a high yield fusion device in low atmosphere to
What?
without permission from the captain.
It's a computer virus. It's not
the court martial.
Explode.
I will say you can certainly work on the parameters and devise a plan. Since you guys understand the technology better than really anyone else around at the moment, you can certainly propose and even draw out the schematics of what such a device would need to be able to do. And that we will create. Let's create the advantage through a narrative sense. You have the advantage of let's call it alien computer kill switch. So you have taken some of the time when everyone else is researching to devise a gross effect kind of virus / EMP or whatever that can that you are fairly confident can wipe one of these alien computer systems,
or at least retrieve it.
Well, it's one of the there's retrieving data and then there's wiping it, and I heard Ravas say, yeah.
I want to purge,
Yeah.
ideally, just the data that came from our tricorders, but failing that, the entire computer.
I would say you probably know you would have to be there. It would be it would involve sorting through all the data to be very surgical about purging just the data that came from your systems. But you can
Tell
certainly
which
go ahead.
written by I don't know, Star Trek magic.
No.
I use my tricorder
Nope.
to create an algorithm that will target and remove our data.
Nope. Because it's all been translated into whatever base code the alien system uses. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be something that Arco would feel confident in.
I'm gonna redeem a major boon and then do that.
That's
Nope.
one free.
That's one way to get really bad stuff to happen to us, though.
That's
because,
true, and also you get what you get.
I mean, we could actually like send out like a probe to maybe see if the planet reacts to it because it now has information on us.
Oh,
And if it
probes
sees it as a sort of
probes will certainly be launched. But that's not the question. The question is which direction do you advise Captain O'Keir?
Dr. Pren would advise the planet.
Yes.
Because she thinks that would be the easiest thing to conceal to the crew, because the black hole is maybe not that interesting. We're doing planetary surveys, theoretically.
Yes.
So Dr. Penn votes for the planet. However, I think chat thinks the black hole's more interesting.
Well, since Zodi just redeemed a Major Bane on Hell.
She said it was for me.
Oh, it says for Cat Dad. Another Major Bane for Cat Dad?
Dad?
Oh, no.
Oh, the date didn't go well.
Dad. Oh, the date didn't go well. Yes, the nurse was all hot for your bod and then got to experience your personality and was just like, nope. And so we get a scene as the scientists are kind of expressing their various different opinions about the best place to go. Dr. Pren makes the point that another planetary survey would be easier to conceal. One of the other doctors is like, yeah, but giving them an opportunity to there's that planetary body near a black hole. I mean, there's plenty of ways that we can disguise what's going on from the rest of the crew.
We take a runabout,
and then we cut to Cat Dad coming back from a date with this nurse, leaning in for a kiss, and then the nurse just kind of stepping back into their quarters before, and just as the doors close, you just hear the nurse say, "You're so pretty." It's like, you're real pretty, but man. So yes.
Well, real quick, writer's room.
Yes.
I'm feeling like the planetary choice is better for the characters, because then we can, if maybe we can like learn, recover our data, or they can recover their data, and then maybe learn a little bit more about the black hole. But I get it would be a lot more entertaining.
Yes, and if we didn't know that we were on a 3-episode arc, I would agree.
Yeah. Right.
But I think the best ending, the most interesting ending, is probably the black hole.
You're right.
What I ask is, are we doing a character thing or are we doing a plot thing? I feel like we're doing a plot thing, which means we should go to the black hole.
Yeah, I think it's a writer's room conversation.
Yeah, I mean, like we can make this a more character-driven thing, but it hasn't felt like a character-driven thing, which is why I don't.
And I like the idea that the characters have a variety of opinions, but I think collectively we, as not just the players but also the writers, think that. And it looks like the people who spoke up in chat have also said, "Kill them with black holes." So, I mean, not in so many words, but I'm reading between the lines.
Oh no.
It's fine.
Oh no.
It's fine.
Uh-huh.
Just remember that this happens after Tuesday. So How bad it is depends upon how nice hell is to me during 10 candles. Just saying.
Why is this my
Please be
fault?
very nice.
Don't
Please.
worry, I have a phaser now, so you'll be fine.
It's not
it's
your
up
fault.
to
This is called extortion.
It's up to Hell whether or
Kill him
not this
first, Hell.
artificial satellite has living Borg or dead Borg on it.
No Borg. There are things that are much worse than Borg. Anyway,
I mean,
Species 8
there's things that are much worse than death, Zero.
how dare? How dare? Anyway, so we have our plan.
8472.
You guys have discovered many things, and like most investigations, finding an answer to one thing just opens up questions for another, as is appropriate. But you are now in a better position to formulate hypotheses about what's going on. You know some connections to some weird, creepy events that have happened to other Starfleet officers in the past, and you have a direction to go. And you will have time on the way to the black hole, which I think is a Megalionis beta, but I'll have to look it up, to poke around at this creepy, dead, blackened body of a prophet and see if you can't learn more. So we will pick up, I believe it is the same time next week, right, guys?
Yep, that's
what
right.
I believe.
Excellent. Let me scroll down so I can look at our calendar. Yes, indeed. So hopefully those of you in chat have enjoyed this, and we'll come back to see the conclusion as the crew of the Pioneer is not cast into a black hole, probably. But we'll probably learn some more things, and as we are wont to do here, we'll leave many, many questions unanswered and lingering out there for folks to speculate upon. Before we close and before I go into any more kind of spiel, why don't we do the round robin? Remember, tell everyone who you are and where they can find you next. Hell first.
Hi, I'm Hellhass and Fury. You can find me next on my own channel, Hellhass and Fury, on Twitch. I like to play difficult games in a calm way, and we like to learn stuff. So if you want to give us some fun facts, we love fun facts. We would love that. And you can also find me on general social media, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, at Hellhass and Fury.
Perfect. Mish.
I'm Misha Less Than 3. You can follow me on Twitter at Misha Wayat. You'll see me, I think, here next week for the continuation of this game.
Yes.
I am Cat Daddy Boo. You can find me next on Juices TV and Licity's channels this Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central. Right? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
7:30.
6:30.
Where I will be Ghost, the rotating chair character of chaos in their D&D campaign. And I am Cat Daddy Boo on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. If you want to check me out at any of those places.
Awesome. James.
And I am Jeems. You can find me at twitch.tv/Jeems, Jeemz. I think there's some other social media involved there too, but it's spelled differently and it's really complicated. So just find me on Twitch and ask me what the other stuff is. I play Lieutenant Junior Grade Nicholas Vaughn, who is the shooty man and also the helmsman of the USS Pioneer. And it's a ton of fun because I get to play a person that I don't normally act like. So it's kind of a nice breakthrough for me, I guess, if that's, for lack of a better word. But when I'm not doing this, you can always find me streaming, or you can find me in these lovely people's chat like Hell and Cad Dad and Kelly, and also C+ content when they do the other shows.
Excellent. Last but not
And
least, Kelly.
I'm My Fair Kelly. I'm a variety streamer. You can catch me multiple days a week over on twitch.tv/MyFairKelly. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Awesome. And I am Zero or Zero Daylight or Michael or DM or GM or narrator or whatever. You will see me next on Sunday, November 4th at 12 p.m. Central for the second of 3 planned episodes of Those Meddling Kids, our Monster of the Week actual play. Following that, I will be joining Cat Dad to run what is hopefully a less insane and chaotic episode of our main D&D campaign, where almost nothing ever happens and everyone complains about it. But, silliness is fun. And then I think I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, on Tuesday, November 9th at 6:30 p.m. Central, we have 10 Candles Last Boat from Banoi, where I will die, but not first, because hell is going to be kind to me. Then upcoming, we have the third episode and final planned episode of Teen Justice Academy, Our Masks, A New Generation, teenage superhero drama, actual play. And then in the near future, we will be beginning Oracles of Dune, a Modifius 2D20 role-playing game in the Dune universe. So very similar but different rule set to this game. And then we have Monsters She Wrote, our Jessica Fletcher meets the dastardly dealings of Cthulhu. We have a Star Wars Edge of the Empire game coming up. We have a Mass Effect game. We have a wonderful, very exciting Stargate game coming up in the Stargate universe. And we have a Labyrinth one-shot or possibly two-shot coming up. Plus some additional exploration of the rest of the world that we share in D&D and some limited series with some additional players. So there's a lot coming up in the relatively near future as we try out different systems and different ways of telling fun and exciting and sometimes spooky stories. So awesome. Thanks everyone who joined and who redeemed Banes, but mostly for redeeming boons because those are my favorite. And I think it is probably time for us to raid out. We have a lot of friends, but some of our friends over at the Nat 30s are actually trying out a one-shot of a system that I have never played. It's called Fires of Athlin. It was recently released. So if you like nerdy folks sitting around and playing TTRPGs that you are less familiar with that aren't D&D, this might be a good place to go. So let us go ahead and hit, if I can spell raid tonight. We're going to go check
Believe
out.
in you.
We're going to check
Spelling
out
is hard.
Well, typing and talking is not something I'm good at. We're going to check out the Nat 30s. Isabeth is their DM. I don't know if she's DMing or playing. It might actually be one of the creators, if I recall, of the system in question, but she is fantastic. Her crew is fantastic. So go check them out and give them a follow, and we will see you again here very, very soon. Awesome. I guess I could hit the button. Oh, yeah, well, we're going to do the thing where we all wave, and then I realized that I was typing in the raid into my personal account, not this one. So as usual, I'm going to have to cut the end for YouTube. Oh,
Excellent
well.
work.
It's complicated. You're dealing with a lot of moving parts.
Look, I just tell stories that hopefully people find interesting.
Michael, the raid goes, the slash goes in front of the raid.
It just goes in front.
Look at these.
You gotta make one of
on the
those
exam
mods or
table.
something.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Shut up, Cat Dad. I'm a pretty face who
Maybe
talks
next
who
time.
talks
Oh
good.
no, you're rating the wrong people.
I'm a pretty face who talks good. That's it. So don't expect me to type or know which buttons to push. Thanks, guys. No, but seriously, thank you all. Give the Nat 30s a chance to earn your follow. They certainly have mine. And we will see you again soon. Bye, everybody.